I dropped the nat 20 on my plate and it came up as a nat 20.
Yay! I rolled a nat 20 when I was testing to see if D&D Beyond was connected. It's like I just have a feeling there's nat ones in my future, you know?
And that dice that always comes up nat 20s is just came up nat 20 again. That's my lucky dice. So there who knows high rollers.
I know high rollers.
So high rollers, you know what you do? Say? So I got a bunch of dice from that are high rollers dice,
Mm-hmm.
which is the group high rollers, and that was been my lucky die.
Are you sure you don't mean weighted?
No, it's not weighted. It's not weighted. I swear to God, it's not weighted. I swear. Because it comes up high, not always not 20.
For Christmas, I bought one of my friends a D20 that doesn't have any ones, twos, or threes. It has two 17s, or two 18s, two 19s, and two 20s. And then I wanted to get the loaded D6s to go with it, but they were sold out. I thought,
There's loaded D6.
yes, but if they're not sold out, I felt like that maybe COVID lockdown had not brought out the most honest in people, you know? Oh, I'm gonna
Is
go get
there
something
also
to drink. I'll
loaded
be right back.
D20s? Did I have you roll that one time, Ryan? That D20.
What?
So when we were in person, someone accused me of cheating, and I think I gave them that die to roll for their session, and it turned out it wasn't weighted or loaded.
Maybe something like that. That kind of rings a bell.
You're just getting like nat ones or something like that. But I gave the die to someone, so it just proves that wasn't loaded.
Yeah.
I mean, last session I was using D&D Beyond the entire time, and I got two nat 20s in a row. That was
Yeah.
surprising even me. But I'm not always that lucky.
No, you're not. It's just you're binary about it.
Okay, I have returned with a caffeinated beverage.
Binary what?
Yeah, like you either roll like 6 20s in a night, or like you don't get any.
Oh, if I roll one, it usually means I'll roll more.
Okay, looks like everybody's here. All right, so you're at the Kraken Seminary in the Sahojan territories. As we zoom in on the big holo map, you're in your private quarters at this point. The Sahojan guide that was with you sort of is giving you the nudge and the wink, saying, well, there are various restricted areas, essentially, that your passes won't get you into, but we won't say anything if you don't get caught, because we are interested in the success of this mission. Our particular faction is interested in making sure that we open up, basically, to the outside world. There is a militant faction that is not interested in this, essentially, that are a little bit more traditional. So, they believe, essentially, we are as we have always been and should not basically open our society up. So, that being said, essentially, we've had so many incidents over time at this point that our faction believes it's inevitable that we must interact or we're going to come to blows at some point, and that's going to be disastrous. So that being said, essentially, look for possible signs of sabotage, bombing, poisonings, whatever. and try not to get caught when you're in restricted areas.
Okay.
I wish you good luck, as the shark-headed fishman shuts the door behind him, and you are left to your own devices at this point. Everything's underwater here. There are no air pocket areas at all. All of you have either fully sealed environmental gear or are alternately have the sort of genetic adaptation shot that you've all taken that that you have to reapply every 24 hours. So the
And I think
most of you, it is like you're sort of. It is. It feels like you're like moving through molasses down here. It just like that you're still not acclimated to the pressure, and it just like the joints. Those of you in like fully sealed armor, the joints are making like horrible creaking noises, and you're going It's like I don't have a good feeling about this. If there's a breakage in this suit, essentially, I'm gonna instantly die.
Can Mina do any like spec checks just to see if there's any preventative maintenance we can do while we're in them?
It's mainly that your suits are fine for now, but essentially, given how often your suits are breached, if you get into combat, you're going. Without this suit, it's almost an instant death sentence, essentially. So,
right.
Having something critically fail on the life support on this suit, essentially, would mean we better have some of this genetic adaptation juice around for everybody that can use it. Otherwise, something bad's gonna happen if we get a cracked helmet or something.
I have an entire week's worth of supply.
No, but I'm saying just like.
No, I know. Like in an
you think it's
emergency,
probably a good idea to just grab more for everybody at this point.
I think
except for hate, it's just like there's sort of limits on what you can do for hate at this point. If water gets into hate, this bad stuff is going to happen regardless.
And I think I'm going to go ahead and cast underwater breathing on everybody. It wouldn't help with the pressure, obviously, but if there's a partial suit malfunction, it might be enough to get somebody over the hump.
Exactly.
So that lasts for 24 hours, and I can retreat.
All right. So at least you won't drown, but the pressure probably would get to you pretty quick. All right. So.
Did the diplomat provide Asgol and I think one other person with the ultra self potion or adaptation potion?
I'm saying you couldn't just ask for more at this point. There's enough to cover their whole delegation because all of them are not adapted to super deep deaths. Only the Sahojin are.
Yeah, I think we got the original 2 from the assassins on the cruise ship.
Well, that's essentially the polyjuice elixir that the assassins use. It literally allows you to polymorph into a different race.
Oh, okay.
So the adaptation basically drug allows you to survive down here for 24 hours.
Yeah, so we probably need enough for everybody to have 2 doses on hand.
Okay, fair enough. So you go talk to one of the assistants of that female delegate, what's her name here?
Linda, wasn't it?
It is Linda, yes. You talk to Delegate Linda. She's going, all right, so she motions to one of her assistants, whispers in his ear. The assistant produces a case with a whole bunch of basically hypo injectors in it. Essentially, here you go. So there's enough for 2 of you. We don't have much more than this. This is the spares we can give you.
Do we know what the estimate is for how long we're going to be down here?
I'd expect us to be here. Linda's going. I'd expect us to be here at least about a week.
Okay.
We can go ahead and send a report back that we need more of the adaptation drug set down. So I don't think that's a big deal. So should come within the next 1 or 2 days. So. Okay. But this is all we have on site at the moment. So.
Okay.
All right. So as you are having a discussion with the diplomat Linda, you're sort of out of the corner of your eye, everybody is sort of scanning the room. You're in a sort of large open concourse area at this point. underneath a portico, and the portico sort of goes around in a big U, essentially in front of a sort of large open quote unquote grassy area. It's all seaweed, but it looks like grass. Looks like.
I have a passive perception of 19.
Okay, so you're just sort of sitting there scanning around the. You can. Okay, so everybody's perception checks, and if you want to use passive perception, you can certainly use passive perception. That's fine. Just take your. We can take just to 19, and that's okay too.
Yeah, I rolled a 9, so I believe my passive is 15.
I'll take a
I'll take
19.
my passive on that one, which is 14.
Okay, fair enough.
I
All right,
got
so Hate and Stormcrow basically both sort of are peering out over the concourse, and you can see there's a group of Sahojin in like dark blue robes, kind of older. Because you can see their scales, their fins are a little frayed around the edges. Hate basically dials in basically his zoom his zoom lens on his eye. It's like he's looking over at them. It's like they figure they're far enough away where you can't see them, but both of you basically very very eagle-eyed are basically both looking back at them at the moment. But there's a group of about 5 of the blue robed individuals that are somewhat older. They're probably not students, to be sure, and they're either staff or perhaps basically from another faction of Sahojin here as part of the delegacy.
So, do we have a way to take a picture of them?
Sure, you have. It's not super subtle, let's put it that way. If you have to use stealth or sleight of hand if you want to actually take a picture of them on the fly.
You know, I think I'm going to ask somebody to take a picture of me with them in the background. I'm just thinking that if there's sabotage in the future and we catch something on video or we recognize somebody, it'd be helpful to have some pictures.
But they are staring holes basically into the back of your skulls, so there's like they are definitely looking at you and specifically you.
Yeah, Nina's gonna totally cluelessly ignore him like she rolled a 4 on her perception, and she's gonna say, "Hey, Escool, take a picture of me. This is a great trip."
Okay,
and see if you can catch him
I'm
in the
gonna
background.
run up to him and say, "Hey, buddy," and I snap a picture just randomly.
Okay, so I need a. Let's do some insight checks for those people who did actually succeed to see if you can divine their intentions from a distance. Your DC is 22, pretty far away, and
29.
Then I need a sleight of hand check essentially to take the picture and have a good picture again.
Like I knew him. I'm gonna act like I know him.
Sleight of hand or performance, whichever one happens to be better for you.
Am I doing an insight?
You want to take the picture? We'll go ahead and roll.
He had a 21 on his perception, so.
Yeah, I'm saying you saw it, basically. All of you know about it,
Okay.
but it's already been pointed out to you over the comms. So you're basically like sub-vocalizing into your comms. It's like, hey, we've picked up an audience, essentially, and not the good kind. That's like they're across the concourse.
Performance is 18.
Insight.
Right, so Asgold doesn't particularly get a good shot picture, but Ronan basically manages to take a relatively good picture with the holocam. They seem to notice that you take a picture and all like turn and leave in one group, all 5 of them, as they sort of walk back into a building and disappear.
Can we tell what
Can I go
building
talk to
it is?
the?
Say again?
Can we tell what
The building
it is?
itself. You're looking at your campus map. It is the actual seminary building. So this is where the religious studies. It is the religious studies building.
Okay.
So the building to the top of the U, as it were. So the rounded part of the U is the administrative building and the student union, and then the building that you guys are in essentially is sort of general class, general education, science, math, history, essentially. So the one whole wing of the school is literally taken up by the seminary school, which you're looking at the sort of layout of the map. It's like Their religion is important to them, apparently, to
Is
give like 1/3 of the school to the seminary, and all the other parts of the school have to share like the right third of the school.
Are we allowed in the seminary building?
You're allowed into the lobby area, but not into any of the back offices or temple areas.
I'm wondering what the underwater comparable thing for being burned at the stake is as a heretic. I'm feeling heretical.
I don't know. They'll probably feed you to Crocky, but
Oh, there you go. I was just thinking if they're older and they disappeared in there, priests are generally the ones that are resistant to change. So,
right. As you're hanging about here, some younger Sahojans, curious about the otherworlders, the surface dwellers, sort of mosey on up to you guys. It's like, you have a moment? We'd like. We haven't got to meet many surface dwellers before, so like, do you have a moment to talk?
I believe we do. It
Their,
would be a
their
delight.
translator, whatever translator software they're using, is pretty good. It's pretty reasonable. So it's like their galactic common is very understandable.
I ask what kind of a translator they're using.
Oh, I don't know. It's like this. It's an off-world model. There's a booming black as one of the sort of younger, what you're guessing is female, though it's hard to tell their actual genders. You're guessing the Sojin females are slightly smaller than the males, or it could be the other way around. It is really hard to tell. So the but one of the smaller Sojin says like. There's a thriving black market for cultural exchange goods, essentially, with the outside world. So I bought this on the black market in the hopes, essentially, I could talk to a topsider. Some of us, every so often, escape up to the reef and take a look around. Some of us have actually made it, like I have made it, actually, as far as the docking port. But the elders always send people to come and fetch us as soon as it's determined we've gone missing. So the opportunity to stay really hasn't presented itself.
So you're not free to come and go as you please?
Not really. Essentially, we're supposed to keep contact with the top side to a real minimum. A lot of the like middle-aged professors tend to turn a blind eye to it, but the elders are completely and firmly against it, and they're the heads of our church, so it's as well as our rulers. We tend to have to follow their dictates. So
let me ask you this: do you outnumber them?
well, that is a good question. Essentially, we Sahojin actually grow much larger as we get older, so they're both physically larger as well as more politically powerful, I guess. To a degree, I guess we outnumber them, but not that I don't think we've ever counted before.
Well, hopefully, it might have been dangerous to go up there without a treaty in effect. But hopefully we can have a nice treaty between the two groups, and then we can have cultural exchange. I look
Well,
forward to
I
this.
certainly hope so too. So, what you all look for like you're from off world? Where are you all from?
Would you even know if we told you?
Let's see.
I know something of the world outside of Uranus, but I like to hear tales of stories of basically other places. It gives me some idea of what else is out there besides here on here on Uranus.
I think Mina's originally from the planet Magrathea, if I recall correctly.
Funny.
And so I'm an engineer, and I have a shop there, and invent things, and fix things, and work on commissions. And my mother's an artist and did a lot of art installations. My grandmother was a starship pilot, so we did a lot of travel to different places.
I've been a roaming. I was born on a ship, so I don't really have any
So you're a
true home.
spacer. Okay.
Yes, I'm a spacer. I've always been a warrior
Okay.
and a thinker at heart.
All right. I think it's probably a good bet. We can just say elves are the space adapted race of humans, essentially at this point.
Yeah.
You're not per se an alien race. Essentially, you're a variant type of human, just like halflings and gnomes and dwarves in this universe are variant forms of humans, probably adapted to a particular world. Okay, so it's like, well, say I know you guys can't tour the seminary, but if we're with you, we could give you a tour, and I think it might be okay.
Oh, I would be very interested in that.
So,
At this point, Poppy just pops out of my pocket.
hey, that robot's really cute. Is that your pet?
That is my pet. Sorry about that.
No problem. All right. There's that. It's against the teachings that we don't have many automatons in our society. So, uh, as one of the like larger fish persons, essentially, is eyeing hate up and down because we just don't have any. We don't have many AIs at all, essentially. So the few that we do have are sort of tightly controlled with our society. The smaller fish person that you're guessing is female is like waves you on at this point. Oh, it's been terribly rude of me. I'm verbal, and she just goes and introduces each of the like 5 or 6 other Sahojin that she's with at this point. But she guides you over to the seminary area. So this is this open courtyard area as you sort of enter the main building. The main building is sort of has a central like Spanish courtyard where it's open all the way through to the roof essentially. So there's just an open courtyard in the center of this building. Mm-hmm. And then you can see this open courtyard is where you can tour without an escort. But if you're in any of the other areas like the class, she sort of points out that the first 2 levels, so this is a 5-level building. These first 2 levels are classrooms. The second level are prayer and meditation room. The third level, I'm sorry, is prayer and meditation rooms. The 4th and 5th levels, essentially the elders and worshippers of the abyss worshippers are at. You sort of ask her what exactly an abyss worshipper is. It's just like, our religion is sort of strange. It's actually based on keeping bad things at bay. So we give a little, essentially, so that the sea does not take. In the modern sense, it's like the sacrifices are sort of like purely symbolic, but that's but the beliefs still sort of persist essentially. So, but all of us here are, well, I guess we're at least believers, if not devout worshippers to some degree. So we're trying to improve ourselves. It's like, do you have religion? Do you believe in something?
I will a follower of the collective, and as are my 2 friends here.
So what does the collective believe?
We believe in the acquisition of higher technology, but to protect the masses of people from themselves.
I see. Oh, that's interesting. So that's not too far off from the Abyss Worshippers. They sort of believe that rapid changes to society cause chaos and disruption. So, strangely enough, not all that different. Interesting. She guides you to up to the second floor, sort of points you out. Looks like very much like a normal college campus. There's rooms. There's sort of like rows of chairs and desks, sort of loosely agglomerated into rooms. there's there's large there's large talk halls essentially where a professor can give a presentation to a large auditorium of people, and then so that's the first and second floor, and then going on to the third floor, she asked that everybody please be quiet, try to keep to a low noise. A lot of people here are meditating and or worshiping as you see. You see a religious statue or icon that is just like it's somewhat disturbing. It just sort of looks like an open black. It's obviously stylized, but it's like an open. It looks like an open black maw, basically, with sort of tentacles and teeth weaving in towards the inside. Essentially, that is the symbol of the abyss. Some people find it comforting, essentially, that it will eat all. It will consume all turmoil in your life, and others like me just sort of find it disturbing. But I guess it depends on your viewpoint. And then she's like, and then her tour sort of ends at sort of like the stairwell up to level 4 and 5. So it's like, well, I can't take you to the elders area at this point, but there's a large temple on the 4th floor where an auditorium which is pretty much large enough for all of us to meet at. The entrance is at the 4th floor. It's not time to meet there as of yet, but I'm almost positive at some point or another there will be there'll probably be some speeches given, essentially, because it's one of the few auditoriums that is large enough, other than the main administrative building, to hold more than probably about 50 to 60% of the student body. So if there's speeches to be had, it's either going to be at this auditorium or the other auditorium that is at the main administrative building, and she sort of points you to the administrative building. So in the back of your mind, you're probably going, we probably need to do some physical site scanning of those areas to make sure that what are our liabilities if we need to protect the diplomats during talks. Okay,
So,
during the period of time, yeah,
I'm
go
sorry.
ahead.
Crow has all that information, the tech to do maps and see through walls and all of that. Is that really obvious when he uses that, or can he be stealthy with that at all?
It just looks like gear on my face.
The gear on his head basically does auto mapping, but if you actually needed to do the wall penetrating radar, that is an obvious piece of equipment. It's like a full cart. It's like,
Okay.
Yeah, and I have that. It's heavy.
yeah, it's sitting in dimensional storage at the moment, but just like if you need to see through a wall, it's certainly useful.
Yeah, we
mean
might
the
need to
cart
bear
guy
that in
cart
mind,
on
but
you?
we don't want to walk around with it and further offend the people that we already drove off, right?
Right.
So as we're
You
walking
did
around,
see,
can I chat up one of these guys?
Say again?
So can I chat up one of these guys?
Yeah, what are you looking for?
I'm just casually trying to get information. Like, do they have one colony? Do they got like multiple colonies spread out across the world? Do they have like transfer students that come in, or is it very like a closed community where a new person would be very off?
So, word will goes to you. We've all been told essentially that we're not supposed to tell you the actual number of Sahojin in our society. So, I can tell you this: we're relatively close to a city. So, we're talking about maybe over time that city and the reef have gotten closer and closer to each other as the reef has sort of grown out towards the rift area. So, I think this is one of the reasons why the diplomats wanted to have a talk at this point before any more misunderstandings start to happen. Now,
Secondly, Asgol is trying to find out
out.
information like where to go to party.
Say again?
Do they have like college parties?
Oh, I'm sorry. We're a religious school, so no, we don't actually have all that many parties unless you count basically meditating and drinking tea as a party.
Okay.
Actually, that sounds really nice. We
Well,
don't
if you
get a
like,
chance to do that much.
if you'd like to participate, I can take you over to one of the temples, and you can take a moment to drink some tea and meditate with us.
I'd like that.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll do that too.
All right.
I'm just over here wondering how the hell you drink things while underwater.
Well, you already can see how it's done. Essentially, you have a little pouch essentially that has the liquid in it, and you suck it through a straw. So they hand you a little orb with a straw in it.
And I'm sure since it's tea or something like that, that they're pretty little orbs and decorative, right?
Exactly.
I'm
All
gonna
right.
cast
So they sort of stop by a whatever passes for a high end espresso machine for tea that pops out these little orbs, and they hand each of you an orb. It's like now. The verbal notes essentially. I'm not really sure what effect this tea will have on you as surface dwellers. If you have any adverse reaction, please stop drinking it, and we'll take you to the infirmary immediately.
Can I look at it and cast detect poison?
Okay, so go ahead and roll. What is it? Arcana, I guess, as your science skill, or nature. Nature is probably better.
Can I give him help with that?
Okay.
Sure.
All right, so I'm doing a nature check.
Yeah, and you'll
Yes.
have advantage because I'm going to help.
Okay. Terrible. 8.
Okay, that's the high end.
Wait.
All right, so
Yeah, I rolled a 2 and a 5.
Oh man.
you're not detecting any like obviously toxic compounds in there, but essentially, like strange proteins can also have like deleterious effects on you. So it's like it's hard to doing the quick basically sip and basically swish it around. You don't feel any tingling on your tongue or cheeks or scratching in the back of your throat. So it's like probably harmless.
And that's what I get with the spell? Alright. Let me mark that off. Seems fine to me, and I'll start drinking and meditating.
Okay.
I'll start drinking as well.
Mina's going to
All
swish
right.
them around in her mouth and see what happens. And then if it seems to be
Okay.
okay, she'll have a little sip.
Everything seems to be okay. So a little bit later, you feel a little bit lightheaded, but it's like it's not like. So this has probably a mild narcotic effect, but it's not the like knock you unconscious sort of narcotic effect. So
Inspiration.
everything seems peaceful and calm, and there's and you can see little blue tracers around everything, and it's like, well, that's kind of cool. As the constant droning and humming is like like lulls you into basically a sort of like unsteady sleep as you are kind of begin to float away as hate grabs some of you and shakes you back away. It's like, hey, we're we're on the clock here. The Verbal and her crew seems to be continuing to meditate at this point, but this looks like it might be a moment that you could break away.
Do we need an escort back to the courtyard? I don't think we're supposed to be wandering around here by ourselves, right?
Well, the upper levels you're not supposed to be wandering around, but the lower levels is perfectly fine. But let's put it this way: this is somewhat of an arbitrary distinction, right? Because you could be floating at the level of the other levels and still be in the courtyard.
Okay. Well, I was just thinking we might want to ask one of them to escort us back to the courtyard, so that way we're clearly
You,
following the rules.
you grab Verbal, she sort of like startles awake and is just like, "Oh, okay. I'll get you back to the front of the seminary." So she she sort of just leaps off the balcony and starts swimming down towards the entrance of the seminary at the ground floor.
How cool. So, do they have like personal communication devices? Is there any way to get in touch with her later if we should need touring of more things or questions?
She's going, I do not have a.
Okay.
I don't have a planetary grid, basically communications device. Essentially, those are generally forbidden to us as individual citizens uh, of our culture. Let's put it that way. Just like so, and unfortunately, they're easy to track down. Essentially, if we start using them, so it's very easy to get into trouble if we start using those sorts of devices. Instead, we have she points over to something that looks like a seashell with a big glassy orb in it. Instead, we have these communication stations that we use to reach each other. You can I do have an account on one of these. I don't know if you're going to actually be able to use it though. So you may want to ask the Sahojan delegate of whether or not you can use our communications network.
Okay, we will ask.
Okay.
I ask if there's a way that they could give us a layout of the like the meeting areas, something like that, like the
No, she
the
sort of
conference halls.
described it to you. So the north side of here essentially is that the two auditoriums that they might hold speeches or debates are either in this seminary building or in the main administrative building. Those are where the two big auditorium halls are at.
And what's the layout of one of these halls?
Oh,
What does it look like?
just think of a college auditorium. It's just like there's a whole bunch of basically tiered seating, like probably enough to hold like 400 or so students. And at the bottom, there's whiteboards or chalkboards, essentially, that could be shuffled around, and digital display devices for projecting stuff, and that's so. Just think of a college campus auditorium.
Mina
Okay.
has a question. When you have like speakers and there's large groups, are generally people really well mannered and they listen and they don't loudly disagree or cause any sort of a disturbance? Or sometimes if people don't disagree, do they have signs or cause unrest?
Well, let's see here. We used to have a great deal of internal turmoil among the Sahojan in the not too distant past, but a lot of that has calmed down. So the worst I've seen in an auditorium is basically someone raising their voice. That's it.
Okay, that's very nice. I like that.
So Burbo also notes there's a back entrance to each of the main auditorium halls, so there's a backstage area at the back of the building. You just know I've worked that before. I understand you individuals are security, so you may want to look at the backstage. At least, as far as I know from personal experience, the backstage of both of the auditoriums effectively looks identical. They're exact like mirror copies of each other.
Oh, that's very good
Any
to
way that we
know.
could get you to escort us up there so we can take a look before anything?
I'm saying not in the seminary area right now. Essentially, we might get called there for a meeting, but I can't take you back there. This is one of those areas we're gonna have to ask the diplomat.
But if we talked to the delegate and saw the one at the admin, the one on the seminary level is a mirror image, and so we should
Yeah.
expect things to match. So that's
Yes,
actually very useful information.
Yes. Okay. So during this whole time, it takes no perception rolls, but you can see like lots of scowling guys in really Sahojan in dark robes, like scowling at you from the upper, like fourth and fifth balconies as they sort of look at you with disapproval.
I waved to him in a friendly manner.
Okay. They do not wave back.
Can I ask her if we're saying
We're
goodbye,
rude?
if we're greeting somebody, what would I do to show respect or
Oh
friendship?
yeah.
Like I don't do I
So
shake a
verbal is going.
fin or
Waving
do I
is fine.
smile or go ahead.
Waving is fine.
Okay.
That's an understood friendly greeting among my people. So she sort of mentions essentially she does basically teach you like 5-6 bad Sahojan words because it's like So that and gestures that are sort of considered rude. So making fishy gestures is considered like ultra rude. So like flapping with fins. So do not do that.
Okay, that's very good to know. Thank you.
That is the sign language equivalent of saying "fuck you," basically in Sahojan.
How is bowing? Is bowing refused as a honorable or
What is what?
bowing?
We don't bow. Essentially, it's not a genuflecting. Isn't a recognized cultural. Doesn't have any cultural significance for us.
Okay.
Salute does basically. So she sort of gives like a curt salute where she brings both of her flippers up to her temples and basically makes a rolling gesture down her chest. It's like that is basically considered a formal greeting.
Oh, okay, they're very good.
All right, so she leads you back out to the front. The scowling abyssal elders are all looking down for you. And the one thing that basically stands out among all the abyssal elders, there's this huge freaking Sahojan, like probably easily like 12 feet tall, hulking over the rest. Essentially, he sort of wears a loincloth of really really dark blue cloth, and he's holding a trident that sort of propped up by one of his legs as he sort of glares at you with like glowing yellow eyes.
I do that greeting, the formal greeting to him.
He basically points his trident at you and sort of taps it to his head. The verbal goes, "He's showing you a sign of respect, so he must recognize you as a warrior."
Very nice.
His verbal goes, "Well, that's at least a good sign, essentially. He is perhaps the oldest Sahojan here at the seminary. He's the Grand Elder. Strangely enough, he has been one of the people that has been pushing for the peace, for contact with the outside world for some time. So I don't know what changed his mind over time, but maybe you do get wiser with age."
Maybe it all gets in perspective that way. But if he is indeed one of the leaders and he's showing us some respect visibly in public, I'd say that's a good sign. I'll take that.
Yeah, I'll take that too.
Part that disturbs you all
look at
is like
him?
there's a large portion of the dark blue robed elders like immediately basically get into animated conversations with each other as soon as they see the like Grand Elder do this. As if there's like, oh hell
I'm
no.
trying
do
to
not do
inference
that.
if he's being meaningful or deceptive.
Say again? No, this is not. It seems like an honest, especially since Burble has basically just straight up basically did the interpretation from an actual Sahojan culturally what the salute means. Just like showing you a sign of respect, essentially. Must recognize you as a warrior.
Very good, Ronan.
Okay.
All right, so
All
Burble goes. All right, do you want to see the auditorium? Do you want to talk to the diplomat? I think. Let's see. She goes up to one of the clamshell communication terminal. There's all sorts of alien symbology here that you can't read. That's probably in Sahojan, and then she brings up something. So, okay, so I think there's going to be a open Q&A session for the students and staff later on this evening after dinner. So that would be around 7 o'clock your time. As far as surface dweller time, we use a slightly different timekeeping system here, and it's probably not worth explaining, essentially, since it's convoluted and kind of archaic.
I respect that completely. Thank you for translating.
All right. So we'd like to see the auditorium at this point, or perhaps if you want to talk to the delegate, according to his schedule at this point, your delegate and our delegate are in talks essentially for the next 3 hours.
I like to see the auditorium first, or
okay. She takes you to the auditorium in the main main student union / administrative building. As you enter this building, there's just huge, airy, open space as you enter. More than probably like 2/3 of the building is literally open space, and there's sort of like floating, sort of stationary, like what you're guessing are like study pods or relaxation areas where there's something that sort of passes for chairs and tables around each of these sort of like floating pods, with some sea life in the center of them, and some places to put down notebooks and electronics, stow your pack, that sort of deal, and hook it onto something so it doesn't float away. You can see easily probably about 200, maybe about 250 students all sort of going about their business. There's various fast food vendors, as you can see, Cracky the Kraken, essentially, and it's like Cracko balls, essentially. You're not exactly sure what they are, but they seem to be doing booming business, as there's a relatively large line of about 10 students lined up in front of it, this particular stand. And then there's stuff that there's lots of like food you just don't recognize per se. It's a lot of it looks like seafood, and so fried fish, various other dishes, essentially. Some of it must be actual raw animals, essentially, because you see one Sahojin wander on by with some tentacles sticking out of his mouth as he's sort of like vigorously chewing on whatever it is to kill it before it basically tries to escape his mouth.
Is there anything like the equivalent of getting like a Gryffindor scarf, right? Is there any Cracky the Kraken stuff I should buy and like?
There's a university spirit store. There's rope.
Be careful; those things will literally bleed you dry.
There's little beanies. You can get an honorary diploma. It's a lot of the symbology on them is all in Sahojin, which just looks sort of vaguely like if a shark bit something multiple times. It just like looks like multiple like random slashes in different directions. The symbology doesn't make a whole heck of a lot of sense to you, essentially, but it does look cool. It's just like having a Japanese or Chinese tattoo sort of deal. So.
Sounds really interesting, but I'm thinking, a hat or a scarf or something with Cracky the Kraken on it. I think that sounds like a nice change.
All right, do you want a beanie? You want a beanie, or do you want a cap? Those are your options.
I'll leave it up to you.
Oh.
All right. Since you're an engineer, I'm assuming you always end up getting the baseball cap.
All right, there you go, and I can turn it around. Would it
then
be
you can turn
rude
it sideways, turn it backwards on your head.
Yes, exactly.
Is there like a hoodie? Can I buy a hoodie? Are there hoodies there?
Yes, you can get a hoodie. You can get a sweatshirt with a hoodie. There's even like separate, basically bit, which looks like a capelet with a hood. So.
Oh, nice.
In fact, you sort of see various students wearing them. Basically, you're going, oh, you thought that was all one piece of like clothing, but apparently the robes and the hoods are separate bits.
I'm gonna get something too, but I won't let you pick. As a warrior,
I will get that separate bits.
All right, so you get a Kraken U bumper sticker to put on your armor.
Oh, nice.
Okay, so all right, you go up to the counter. You're mildly surprised they take credits here, but just like any university spirit store, it's just like, this is how much again? It's like 25 credits. What? It's like okay, so everybody needs to make 25 credits for like random, basically university here.
I'm gonna grab a backpack too, just for
Oh yeah.
And so you spend a total of like 50 credits now that you have the backpack and the bumper sticker. It's like, as all of you are going, man, it's like. Fortunate of you didn't. Some of you have, like Tirshan has gone to an actual college before, but some of you, like Ronan, have not. Hate probably hasn't either. I guess Mina might have gone to a trade school, but it's just like,
Yeah,
like
Mina's definitely
you're all
been to
looking at the
school.
prices, are going, Jesus, this is like highway robbery. This is like
Campus robbery.
campus robbery, exactly.
I learned this the hard way the first time. Never again.
Yeah, but when I first went
So
to
is
college,
the wizard around us?
You're looking for a spellcaster. Specifically, yes, you do see. Like in a far corner, there seems to be a group of maybe about 5 or 6 students that seem to be practicing magic. Like they seem to be tossing around like little orbs of glowing energy in some sort of game at the moment.
No, the
You don't
surface
see other
wizard.
students
No,
doing that.
I'm looking for Autoluke that said he'd be here to help us on this
Yeah,
mission.
the one that comes and goes, and I can't pronounce his name. That one.
I mean, you were here last week, Tree. He literally promised us that for the next mission he would help us.
Oh,
Yes.
and we
Oh,
believed him.
yeah.
Okay.
That's a
On
good
the
point. We
third day,
believe
we
him.
looked to the east. Is that what it is?
It's like Tearshot as soon as he says that. Speak of the devil as like Autoluke appears with his shorts and a tropical shirt. You can notice that like he has like vaguely blue sphere of energy surrounding his whole being at this point that like sits out maybe about 2.5 feet. So it's like he's completely surrounded by this blue sphere of energy. Like his clothes are completely dry, and you're guessing that like inside the sphere is air. He's like fascinating place.
Dude.
Essentially, I don't think they practice. I don't think they study the arcane arts here at all. These are all divine. Well, they're either completely secular in their studies, essentially, or they're studying to become part of the priesthood.
Curious.
Hey, Oddlook, how you doing?
I'm doing well. So I got some Kraken balls. They're very tasty. A little on the spicy side for my taste, but definitely, basically worth a try if you haven't tried them before.
Would you
How
like
do you
a
even
cap?
acquire things? Do you,
Hey, can
do
you
you
make me
have
look
our
like
currency?
them and talk like them?
Oh yes, I do have your currency. As Unlook basically just like waves his hand, and like a cred pad basically materializes out of nowhere in his hand. It's like, yes, I do apparently have a lot of your currency. I sold off some leftover mithril I had from one of my adventures to another plane. This metallurgist was very interested in it and offered me 10,000 credits for it.
Nice.
You... Of course you would.
Oh, don't worry. I don't actually have any of this the curriculum you're looking for. My guess it must be some naturally occurring form of electrum.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh.
Given its appearance and description and what we've seen of it so far, that must have some tie to arcane energies.
Mm-hmm. So you have an idea of what it is then?
Yes, I'm thinking it's magic electrum.
Well, at least we have a solid lead when we start looking.
Well, we do know what it looks like. We still haven't found any, of course. Basically, this is something we. Are you going to discuss it with the diplomats?
At this point, I don't know. I was content to try and look for it myself, but I'm really not 100% sure.
Okay. So Odluke is busy buying a stuffed plushie of Cracky,
Aww.
which he hangs on top of his staff.
Very nice.
Hey, Oddlook, I got a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
If I wanted to try and like blend in with these guys and kind of like do some recon work, could you make me look like them and talk like them?
Well, that's a good question, essentially. Yes, I could cast tongues on you. No, I don't actually have anything that I could use to convert you to make you look like them. If you have... but my understanding is you do have, like, holographic disguise gear, so I don't think you need my particular assistance in that space.
All right, I'll put a pin in that idea.
All right. So yes, he can basically cast a translation spell for you, like tongues. No, he doesn't actually have anything that he can use to transform you into a Sahojin. A great deal of my magic really have to do with basically these spheres that you see around me. It's like it can protect you from negative status effects, can entrap people. It's like can bring in bubbles of other extra dimensional energies. So that is my specialty. I'm the wizard of the spheres, after all.
Oh, well, there you go.
And if you consider all of time and space a sphere, one can basically reach anywhere from anywhere else, essentially, if no one knows the way.
Well, at least you're not a square.
I've been called that by many times by very, very various individuals. Generally, in regards to when I'm teaching, but since I'm vacationing across the multiverse at this point, it's like I can afford to be relaxed. So, okay, so you're poking around the student union at this point. You bought some souvenirs. The a sort of like scrawny, unfortunate-looking Sahojin with bad scales like bumps into Hate as Hate sort of turns around. It's like, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. Like, as he sort of burbles in Sahojin as he grovels and tries to escape as quickly as possible. Does Hate let him be, or does he detain them?
Is there anything fishy about his bumping into me?
Make an insight check.
Like in a sleight of hand sort of way.
Other than the fact that he is a fish.
Like, does Hate have a sign that says, like, hit me now, or?
No, I'm more interested in him, like, pickpocketing me or something along those lines.
So you, let's see, do you want to spend a luck on it?
Yeah, let's spend the luck on it. Look, I got a 5.
Got exactly the same roll, effectively. All right. No, you don't happen to notice anything. One other person can make a perception check at this point. Then we're gonna call
got it.
Yeah, I think that's a.
I'm interested in my robot friend's pretty much all of his stuff. I'm sort of like his keeper in a way. Like he is his own entity, but I still keep an eye on him. I got an 18.
Got an 18. Okay. You saw the scrawny individual like place something on Hate's back, basically with a really solid, basically push, and then push off. Mm-hmm. And then at this point, the scrawny-looking fisherman is like swimming away, making his way away at this point. You're sort of looking over Hate's like back panel at this point, next to the jump jets, and it's like you're not seeing anything at the moment. Essentially, it looked like he placed something right about here, and as you sort of like run your claws down over that area, and it's like maybe an engineer can figure out something, but just like you're not seeing it at the moment.
Could I roll Arcana on it?
Sure.
Like I know Hate's form, and I
29.
studied his frame. Oh yeah.
29.
Oh yeah.
You pull out a data pad and run a thermal scan essentially with some of your engineering gear, and it's just like, wow, this is there's a radioisotope tracer basically that's been like it's really thin, like probably like only a micrometer thick essentially.
Wow.
Be completely unnoticeable to the naked eye, but it's there. So you've had a basically nuclear tracker basically placed on you at this point. So we can basically scrub it off, but essentially the radiation traces are going to remain probably at least for 24 hours.
Is there anything that we could do to create like radioactive white noise over it so that the isotope they're looking for wouldn't be detected?
I'm gonna go over and cast non-detection on him. Do I know this?
I think we're all
Me and
sharing.
Mina can just we can like you got a tracker put on you, hate.
Can it be removed?
So trees
Not
of the
easily.
opinion essentially, it's effectively made you like mildly radioactive essentially at this point. Even removing the tracker at this point basically won't necessarily fix that situation. Unless we're
It's
going
sorta
to
like you got-
the plating, unless we're going to toss the plating, like, which is going to punch a hole basically in your jump jets.
I'm gonna go over and try and cast non-detection on him.
Okay, well that seems to be like a solution. So non-detection basically should keep like scanners from being able to scan him just fine. So
I'm wondering if we can peel off what's on there and stick it on someone else as a decoy. Does that seem possible?
it's not stuck on per se. Basically, it's
Okay.
like the
It's almost
I'm
like a
saying
skunk squirted on it.
he basically used some sort of like applicator and basically sprayed on some radioactive stuff and then jetted essentially. There's not like a sticker there.
Okay. So
What you're detecting is just like the radiation signature that's coming off of like hate at this point. Okay, but Asgul's spell seems to work essentially. Even your relatively close range scan, they'd have to be really close at this point to detect this thing anymore. So hate spell seems to have worked.
And then like Mina has mending and prestidigitation. Can she like damp it down a little bit?
Well, this is one of those areas you're going to have to probably remove the plating at this point and take it to like an industrial scrubber sort of deal. Essentially, this is not something that you can easily like peel off and scrape off in the field.
Asgul, how long does your non-detection last?
I think it's 24
8 hours, and I can only do that one more time.
That was 8 hours. Okay, well, you got a good long time, essentially.
The spell says
I
8
say
hours.
we talk to the
Okay, cool.
the diplomats about it and say, hey, this is what happened.
And we might want to scan them and see if anybody else has had any tracking things put on them, right?
Yeah, that too.
You scan them for this unique radiation signature, and yes, all three of them basically have these trackers on them. And in fact, you're sort of checking your whole team essentially offhand. It's just like, yeah, it looks only like Hate basically had a tracker radio frequency, sort of a radioactive tag basically put on him, but so looks like perhaps he was just the biggest and obvious target, so that's why he was chosen. So. Okay, so Burble went off and did something else in the student union at this point. She sort of joins you back up with you lot. All right, so we're done touring the student union area. We could go look at the auditorium at this point.
Any way I could get an audience with the Grand Elder, or?
I'm certain it's possible. The Grand Elder is going to take a tour of basically Cracky's feeding schedule. So he's going to go. He has a personal interest in the health of the Rift Kraken, so supposedly he's going to be out in the field over the next 2 to 3 days, checking on the health of Cracky.
Okay. So he won't be nearby.
So that would be as Burble goes, that would be a great time to meet him. Okay, so I'd like everybody to roll insight checks on Burble at this point, because now all of you are suspicious of whether or not is she really here to help us, or is she basically, or is she a plant?
Mina totally believes she's here to help us because Mina rolled a 3.
19.
Okay, so none of you get like really bad vibes off of Mina. Just like, but you have that sort of nasty voice in the back of your minds going, is she a plant basically, or to guide us or not, or is she actually trying to be helpful?
Does 19 do anything?
I'm saying this is what you get. You get the impression that what she's genuinely trying to be helpful. She has shown you some good stuff. She has talked about good things, essentially. So as if she's genuinely interested in your success, because she's so. But all of
If
you
that's the
can't.
case.
But all of you cannot escape that like niggling doubt in the back of your mind. Is she a plant or a spy of some sort?
Let's consider her to be like Deep Throat, right? So, like, she's our source, and we need to find verifying sources before we should rely upon it because we don't know for sure. She could be feeding
Yeah.
us 80% perfectly good information, and 20% could get us into real trouble.
Yes. But in the back of all your minds is going, man, this is like way too convenient that we have basically an Imperial-speaking Sahojan guiding us around everywhere.
Yeah.
Okay, so she takes you over to the main auditorium. There's this, there's multiple entrances into this auditorium. The auditorium itself is about 3 stories tall, and there's entrances at each level, and stairwells going. Well, there's no stairwells. Never mind. You can just swim up and down between the 3 levels. So there's architecture that probably acts like stairwells without actually being stairwells, because you can just swim in any one direction you want. You continue to find it fascinating what passes for seats around here. It's sort of like it's mainly a cushion with a belt that where you can like strap yourself in so you don't float away. You can see like there's sort of like 3 small groups of students in here. They all sort of look up at you curiously as you enter. Verbal sort of walks down one of the steps that sort of split between the various seating that make aisles between the seats. It leads you all the way down to the bottom of the auditorium. All right, well, this is where the delegates, essentially, from both sides will be taking a Q&A session in about, what is it, an hour and a half from now. So I'd expect most of the student body to be here. This auditorium can hold roughly about 600 individuals. The seminary auditorium can hold about 500 at max capacity. And then people are just turned away at that point and are expected, if they're so interested, there'll be a simulcast essentially through the comm system.
I think this is a good time for us to check out those exits and what has a view of what, and whether, you know, if somebody was going to do sabotage, is there any fields that we can throw, you know, what sort of protection is there?
So you're noticing essentially there isn't any like armored glass or partition, like force field partition between the audience and the stage at this point. There's just no equipment at all that does this. It's just like they're going, it's like that would be good to have. And you're also looking at the furthest away, basically the 3rd level nosebleed seats essentially are far enough away where and there's enough basically like little blind edges and nooks up there where you could a sniper or a sniper basically could easily like hide himself up there with no problems. And then there's also rigging in the ceiling where it's just like where there's acoustic panels likewise that if someone could get up, if someone went up into the catwalk area above the stage, essentially an assassin could get in there easily. You sort of check out the backstage. Burble says, no one's going to stop you like checking out the backstage of this auditorium. There's a normal stage equipment. There's lots of ropes and rigging for essentially curtains. How these curtains work underwater is just like Bina's going, wow, that's sort of ingenious. That's exactly.
Yes. I'm wondering if we have access to send 1 or 2 people up into the rigging of this ceiling, like our eyes in the sky.
Put it this way, because you're underwater, you can just swim up there. There's nothing keeping you from doing that physically.
Yeah, I'm kind of thinking before things get started, we need a couple of people up there to just have a bird's eye view.
You poke around up there. You're looking around. There's this one gopher / theater guy up there basically rigging like looks like he's repairing some soundproof paneling as he's sort of like screwing some of the paneling back into shape at this point. So he has some ratchets and you can hear as he's tightening down
one check on what he's doing. just
Say
in case
again?
he's trying to hide. Can I check on what he's doing just in
Sure.
case he's trying to
You
hide
swim
something?
on up to him and like
I start asking
take a
questions.
gander at what he's doing. Roll Arcana.
It's like,
Can I give him help for that?
Sure.
yes, please. I need help.
Well, you have advantage, right? So, because I gave you help.
That's
So,
right.
was that the high?
No, that's the low.
Okay, what's the high? Let's try.
Let's try a.
Because my
18.
+5 wouldn't even help with that. It has to be.
Okay, so you're
18
looking. It's like
plus 5.
this engineer has shifted some of the panels away to make a gap. Essentially, it's like you don't know why he would do that, unless he's basically up to no good. Because he's literally made a gap in the panels at this point, which you wouldn't want to do from an acoustic standpoint. That would just like cause weird echoes. So he's made a gap so you can peer through the panels if you're up in the catwalk. But he basically quickly finishes his task, gets up, and starts swimming it away.
Is there enough space, I would assume, stick a weapon through there?
Well, yeah, you can definitely
ranged
stick a weapon through there, or it just could be a spot for observing things or whatever.
Or we could sit here and make sure that there aren't any snipers here, and then it's a good spot for us to see what's going on, right?
Exactly. So, yeah, so there's looking around up here, there's a whole bunch of like very subtle gaps that basically have been made in the acoustic panels up here to allow like clean line of sight directly to the stage. About half a dozen of them.
That's not suspicious at all.
Is there any way to fill those in?
Well, you have tools. You could just put the panels back where they go.
Yeah, I'm thinking, yeah. Oh, hey, let's pitch in, guys. I mean, it's going to fix
Let's help this guy fix everything.
Okay. You put the panels all back where they're supposed to go at this point. And it's like, so there's no gaps in the acoustic panels anymore where they're all mounted in place by being bolted in place. So it's like, this hopefully this hopes to just keep basically whatever forces that be basically from coming back up here and like getting into mischief. So
yeah, if somebody's counting on that, then they're going to have to think of something else. I like slowing them down.
Okay. Checking out the back, there's 2 exits out to the back of the auditorium, in the sort of backstage area. The backstage is just full of stuff. It looks like there was some probably theatrical play that was going on. There's all sorts of set pieces back there and like very old timey columns and stone facade buildings. So there's sets of all that stuff. There's a big painted background of what appears to be the deep abyss. So it's like very dark with sort of like umber and ultramarine hues as the gradient sort of disappeared down into like pure black. There's basically a seahorse like mascot sort of costume and a crab sort of mascot type of costume hung up on mannequins here. And other than that, there seems to be a lot of the controls and rigging for raising or lowering the curtain or bringing various set pieces on stage. As you're sort of peering around, it does look like if you do what you're doing, you could collapse parts of the stage onto like a presenter, though. So, but there doesn't seem to be a really good way of preventing this without like screwing up the whole background that's already been set up for the Q&A session at this point.
So I kind of feel like, guys, I hate to split the party, but I kind of feel like we do need somebody up top, and we need some people back here, and maybe some people fairly close to the delegates. What do you think?
One of the exits is clearly marked fire exit, and there's an alarm on it. The other one doesn't have any.
Underwater? Why would there be a fire underwater?
It's like that's at least what you assume it means because it has a symbol that sort of looks like fire on it.
It's an emergency
but it's obviously
exit.
an emergency. It's an emergency exit.
Yes.
The other exit is more like a loading bay where you could back a vehicle up here basically and unload a truck or some sort of moving vehicle. So it has
It is
one of those
perhaps actually.
large it
The
has one of those large roller shutters.
Mm-hmm.
You operate it at this point. You sort of startle a guy, a Sahojan at the other end with a transport. It's like, hey, I was supposed to drop off this delivery here. It's like, you authorized to sign for things? Burble goes, no, I can get you somebody though. It's like, yeah, well, I've been waiting here for like 20 minutes essentially, and been ringing the bell or ringing the communicator every so often. No one's coming. So I really appreciate it. I need to get on with some of my other deliveries.
What are you
As
delivering?
the Hogan FedEx guy basically is, there's like these two black crates, maybe 3x3x3, that are sitting on pallets that he's sort of loaded onto the loading dock at this point from his
Mm-hmm.
transport, and he's just sort of, and you can see numerous other packages in more and more neutral and muted colors. They aren't jet black like these boxes are.
what
They
are
look like sort of
you?
armored. They look like sort of military style crates that would hold munitions or
Mm-hmm.
explosives or military equipment like military scanners and armor. So
Yeah.
they look really out of place for like being delivered to a random dock, basically at a seminary.
And
What the
nobody's
fuck?
expecting them. Yeah. Is there any way we can see inside those with that? Well, I guess
Well, you probably want to do it after the
after he
delivery guy leaves.
leaves. Okay.
All right, Burble will. Okay, anyways, if you guys can wait here, I'll go ahead and grab somebody in charge that can go sign for packages.
Okay, that's great. Thank you.
Okay. Uh, there's also an unattended one of those communication seashell terminals with the big glass globe over it. Otlu goes, well, if you want to try hacking that thing, I can cast tongues on you and you'll be able to understand the language.
I don't think we've
I think
asked
this
if
one.
we could use that yet. Is
Well,
it
this
better
is
to
one of
ask
those
for
moments where you're
permission or
affected.
forgiveness? What do you think?
I'm saying this is one of those times where you're unattended by Burble. So it's like,
Mhm.
and the FedEx guy is just like standing out on the dock, so can't even see the terminal from his current position. So,
Mic check.
yes, we can hear you.
Lovely.
Yay. Okay, yeah, let's try and see if we can use that.
Okay, so I need an Arcana check. 3 Arcana checks. You need to succeed on 2 of them, DC 18.
Okay.
Can I give her help with that?
Sure.
Okay. So the first one is a 22.
Okay, that's good.
And then that one was not. That one was lackluster. That one was lackluster. Let me try. Okay, so 22 and a 23 are the two high ones.
Okay, that's fine. So out of 3 rolls, you needed at least 2 successes. That's fine. You get all 3 successes. Just check.
No, I got lackluster on the middle. It was like a.
Okay, so you got 2 successes. So you get the basic information.
Uh-huh.
You decide to look up Burble in the student directory because.
Good background. Yeah.
All right, she comes up basically as the student body president. Actually, she's head of student council. She's actually so she's a relatively high-ranked student within the school. She's sort of considered what is it? She's not going to be the valedictorian, but she's definitely going. She might be the salutatorian, but she's definitely going to graduate cum laude with honors at the very minimum. It says she's studying basically xenobiology and basically alien relations. So,
Okay.
so She genuinely seems to have an interest in like aliens and foreigners.
I could see
So she
where it
at
would be
least-
interesting for her. Yes.
And if she truly is so high up on the ladder, so to speak, she'd be useful to have as someone with shared interests.
The other thing is like you're looking at the student events calendar. There's some sort of sport. There's some videos of it. You have a very hard time understanding how it's played.
Yeah,
It
football.
involves basically manipulating bubbles into goals, and you're not exactly quite sure how you do that.
I understand it just about as much as I understand above water sports.
I think we're going to be the last ones to be picked for the team crew.
Yes, but given the video is like there's a stadium somewhere around here that that is not apparent from the map you were given. Maybe it's off-site, but you see easily thousands of Sahojin basically present at this sporting event. So this must be it's something like a Sun Devil Stadium somewhere nearby.
Godzilla.
Okay, let's see. There's also a come meet Cracky, your mascot's basically progeny. As there's the Kraken, the what is it? Kraken spawn petting zoo that is gonna go on apparently in a day or two from now. Just outside the main concourse in the front of the seminary.
That might be interesting. Come meet Cracky the Kraken. Okay.
Well,
I think that's what she said.
Spawn,
Did she say that that's where the head elder guy was gonna be? At that?
Nope, head elder guy is out in the field.
Elder is going to go inspect Cracky himself out in
the real one. Okay.
The real one. So
The
this
big
one,
one.
the one,
That's different.
The one in the concourse is just like you get to meet some Kraken spawn. Supposedly they're really cute. And the pictures basically are like have this little black squid with like enormous blue like glowing eyes. Okay, so that's about what you get to basically. Like you're sort of searching the student events calendar and looking up Burble at this point, and then there you also pull up some more interesting information, like the dean of the school, like the captain of the water, whatever. We'll just call it the basically Sahojin water polo team.
Nice.
Lawrence, I'm silently mad at that stupid pun you just made of dean of the school of a school full of fish.
Yes. Exactly. Okay, so the looking up the basically the information page on various important people of the school. There's Luthus, the elder. He is reading his whole background reads like I'm a hardliner essentially. So he's just sort of this like angry, large-looking fish man with sort of slightly silvering scales, which you're guessing must be a sign of age, because the Grand Elder himself, basically, while all the younger Sahojin are like slightly grayish silver looking, essentially. The Grand Elder, his scales were completely silver, and of course he's like monstrously huge at that point. So, Grand Elder looks like looking at his sort of like curriculum vitae of stuff he's published. Essentially, he's a moderate. So he's like, and then so Luthus the Elder is probably the head of the faction of elders that just like are going, no way, we shouldn't be doing this. Grand Elder is a moderate, and then you're guessing Burble and the Student Union are all on the let's go ahead and just open up stand. Okay, so you check. All right, so Burble comes back with sort of official-looking guy, fishman with glasses. That guy signs off, signs for the two crates, motions for the FedEx guy to basically move them on the holo sled inside the security doors, and then waves him off, rolls the security doors back down. And it's like, all right. So these items essentially are for our eyes only as Sahojin. So I'd have to ask you as overlanders to leave at this point, as the sort of officious looking guy. Sort of, he doesn't have a name tag or anything, but he definitely has a school. He definitely has a what is it? Like facilities uniform on, essentially it's a facilities robe with the with Cracky on one lapel, and then there's some sort of rank insignia over that, or he could be just housekeeping. It's really hard to tell since you don't read Sahojin.
Insight
I
check.
think, yeah, and I think we respect, we respect that attitude. However, we have been tasked to help with security. And so if we have no idea what these large items were that were delivered right before all the delegates are here, we'd just like to make sure that that there's nothing there that might be dangerous.
Yeah, I got a 24 for insight. What is this guy?
This
Why
guy
is he
seems
extra
suspicious
shifty?
because he has tried to shoo you away at this point. And he seems like site security, so i.e. he's campus security. That's what their inside is telling you. This guy is campus security.
So,
Essentially, he looks like he's wearing a police uniform.
so I think Mina's going to give her a little salute thing to him and ask him if he knows what's inside the boxes, or is there someone we could talk to about them?
Because we are also security for our own forces.
Are you talking
so
to
we should have
Virgil, or are you talking
adventures.
directly to this guy, the security guy?
I'm talking directly to the security guy. I'm going to give him the salute
Well,
of respect, and I'm going to ask him, since we've been
Okay,
tasked
so
with security too.
All right, roll persuasion DC 22.
Oh, jeebus. Okay,
He is a hard ass. He is
somebody wanna
really
help me
not
with
going to want
that?
to move. He's not going to be
I
one
mean-
to moved on.
Okay, I got a 20, and I can give myself 5, so I can make a 25.
Okay.
Fuck yeah.
So he makes a basically sort of dour-looking fish face, which is a little frightening on a Sahojin because it looks like he's like baring teeth at you. So as you see rows and rows of shark teeth as he sort of grimaces, I was like, look, you're security, I'm security, and we're gonna have to agree essentially that we're gonna both take care of security on our own way. Essentially, these are security bots essentially that have been brought in for to secure the area in case there's an assault. So that's what they're for. I am gonna station them back here. So they'll be under my direct control, essentially, or that of my commander. So I ask you not to have any worries. Essentially, we will not use them against Our orders are very explicit to basically to keep the safety of your delegates and our delegates in mind. So those are our orders.
That sounds fantastic. Thank you. Thank you for sure. And I promise, this will not, what do you call it? The word will not get out.
Understood. So I ask that you keep yourselves well away from my security forces, and we will do the same, essentially, from you.
Of course.
Okay, is there anything else that we can do to work with you to make it easier on both of us?
Well, unfortunately, that we have very few of these voters, which is as he's sort of holding Burble's like translator at this point, and he hands it back to Burble. It's like there are very few of these on campus, unfortunately. So communication is going to be difficult. So I would prefer, in this particular case, we simply have an agreement that we try to keep out of each other's way.
Can we agree on some simple sign language for, like, there's an emergency or everything's okay?
Sure.
We need help here.
So I just need a. let's make an intelligence check to figure out some reasonable set of things, essentially, that you could communicate through, like hand signals or something along those lines. So,
Okay. That's a 24.
all right, so you have an actually reasonable set of like hand signals. It's like guard the delegates. We're going this way. Essentially, danger. All right. So you have the basic like anything having to do with bodyguarding really
Right.
covered.
Everything's okay, you know.
Everything's okay. Everybody, calm down.
Hey,
Okay.
security guy, can I ask you a question?
Shoot.
Those rafters up there, are you guys supposed to have like holes up there?
Not at all. So the acoustic, there really isn't a lot of ways seeing the stage from behind the acoustic panels when they're in their normal position. So
Some guy. So I tell him. So some guy we saw up there.
Because we found a bunch of that were in the right position.
I asked you for a description, but I'm gonna bet essentially you're gonna have a hard time describing individuals among my race.
We did
Unfortunately,
move,
yes.
He
did
was
move
sort
him
of
back
bent
into
over
position,
his
though.
work, and then he swam away when we looked interested. We did put the panels back, but are you going to have anybody up top?
Normally, I don't essentially because that's usually not a point of
interest.
interest per se. It's actually pretty awkward to get out of there once you're in there, and you've actually already realized that essentially once the acoustic panels are back in place, you literally have to bust out from the acoustic panels, and they're relatively thick, so it's like.
And so we
It made
can't
a
really
basically
see that well with the panels put back. It's not going to work as
you
an eye in
can't
the
see
sky.
very well.
Okay.
You'd have to basically make Thor's own good noise, basically to like bust through the panels if you wanted to attack from up there. So it's like, and the panels don't actually reach all the way on top of the stage, so it's not like you can collapse the panels down onto audience. You might be able to collapse panels onto audience members, but you're definitely not going to get to the stage that way.
Okay, that's the sort of thing that we could send Adam Savage to recon on if we
Yes,
needed to
and
check
Poppy.
on something. Right.
Okay, so all right, so this is what you've gathered to get Manager Clean. There's going to be 2 security bots that the local security, that site security has brought in for as a countermeasure in case something really violent happens. The rigging basically for the stage pieces essentially can it like by someone who knows what they're doing can be brought down to collapse onto the stage. You don't happen to see anything like bombs or like stuff that cut cable in an automated way already planted, so it's unlikely that someone's going to be able to do that like immediately. But a hacker could probably get in there basically and cause some havoc. Let's see here. So, what other stuff? The most likely sniping positions now that the catwalks where the acoustic panels are all covered up again, essentially, are probably in the nosebleed section on tier 3 at the top 3rd level. Essentially, it's furthest away, gives you the most cover while giving you the best commanding view of the stage.
I say we have a vehicle backed up to the loading dock for a quick getaway if we need to.
And to block access of somebody else coming in?
Yeah.
Okay, well, then, unfortunately, you don't have access to vehicles in this particular scenario because, like, the only vehicle that you had access to was basically a large sub that effectively dropped you off here, and then they had to leave.
Can we talk to the security guy about that and say, hey, if we need to get delegates out in a pinch, can we have like a vehicle waiting?
That seems pretty reasonable. I'll make sure there's an armored limo available essentially to take away the delegates.
Very good.
There probably won't be enough room for all of you, however, only 1 or 2 of you could go along with your delegates.
That's fair.
The main thing is getting the delegates out.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
Both sides.
All right, so you all, it's like maybe about 30 minutes before the speech at this point. Sahojin are beginning to pile in numbers at this point. The whole the whole auditorium is going to be full at this point. And the sound is like deafening. You didn't think fish people could be this loud because they've been super quiet this whole time, but it's just like it sounds like any other college auditorium basically before a professor shows up. It is just like deafeningly loud as everybody's trying to talk over each other in a giant echoey room. Some of you are stationed up basically at the nosebleed seats to look for possible snipers or assassins coming in with the crowd.
Right.
Okay, I need a perception check for the people who are in tier 3. And I'm assuming some of you are in the backstage area essentially with the delegate at this point. So choose who's going to be on team 1 or team 2. So
I got an 18 for actually no, 19 for perception.
Okay, well, you have to choose which team you're going to be on. You're going to be team backstage or team tier 3.
So, like, are you going to be
Tier
close
3.
in with the delegates or up in the
Or
top?
you're going to be
I'm not
up
great.
by where the snipers probably will be filtering in with the crowd.
I'm up top.
Okay.
I am with delegates.
Wherever you guys want me.
Yeah. So everybody's sort of everybody's swimming in and keeping generally low to the floor next to the seating. There is nobody floating up like swimming up like in no man's land between the ceiling and the floor. So you're guessing that is sort of considered weird and uncouth.
Okay. Mina will go up with Crow. The two of us can handle tier 3 if you guys are good down there.
And Hate'll be with the delegates.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So the people in the
Askel is with the delegates.
So the campus security is basically scanning badges for everybody that's coming into the back at this point. So they have secured away the back at this point. Nobody but authorized personnel are getting to the delegates. So the team backstage is sort of taking a look at everybody as well as the other security guards at this point. Perception checks or investigation, whichever is better for your character.
23 for investigation.
Nice.
Okay, so
30 investigation.
Whoa.
you happen to notice it's like that is that same freaking scrawny fishman that basically tagged Hate earlier. He's wearing a disguise, but it's like that. It's the same guy. He's wearing a security uniform this time, though.
I walk up to him and say, "Hey, buddy, how's it going?"
He notices you long before you notice coming up long before basically you can intercept him, and he sort of ducks into the crowd basically as he sort of like runs. He moves at not running, but basically at a pretty good pace. Basically, like shifts directly into a group of people, basically to disappear amongst other fishermen. It's like you keep track of him for a few moments, and then like he sort of disappears into the crowd. Are you pursuing him? In which case, you try to keep him in sight, or are you letting him move away at this point?
Should I stick my fish on him?
Yeah, stick your fish on him.
Okay. Roll insight as to whether or not that's a good idea. Assaulting Asahojin in the middle of this conference is a good idea.
Oh yeah, no.
I'm thinking that we need to somehow like get him visible so that the real security guy can see him.
If you're going to intercept him, you need to intercept him quietly, or you need to point him out to security.
16
Right.
insight.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna point him out to security.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to be thrilled that they've been infiltrated. I think they can do a good job with that.
Okay, so all right, do any of you have translating gear at all?
I was gonna ask if I could pick one up.
I'm saying you can't pick unless you convince Burble to give you hers. Essentially, if that's the only one you've actually seen so far.
We can purchase one from the black market or anything.
Oh, never mind. I keep on forgetting you have Otluke with you. Otluke just says, "Okay, fine. Here you go." All right, you can speak fish. Who wants to be able to speak Fishman? You can speak Fishman for an hour.
I do. Yeah.
Okay, so for the duration of this conference, everybody understands Fishman, but it's like Otluke is effectively out of second level spells at this point after you do this. Okay, so he can't do it anymore for the rest of the day. So, he's like, all right, well, that's the last of my second circle spells then. He He waves his fingertips basically and makes it so all of you can speak Sahojan. You're just it's like, you have a perfectly accented Sahojan. It's like that's an amazing translator you have. It's like, oh, it's magic. It's like, impressive. So, what have you come to report?
We tell him about the guy. Try to give him as best description as possibly can.
Right, roll performance.
Unnatural 20.
Okay, very good. You give him actually a reasonable description of a scrawny fish guy, about yay tall, bluish scales fading off to whitish silver towards the edge of his fins. It's like, wow, it's like the security guy's like, okay, that's actually a relatively good description. Well, and where did you see him last?
He was wearing a security uniform, and then when we
That
noticed
is
him,
no
we
good.
turned him off.
All right. Are any of your friends basically keeping a tail on him at this point, or not?
Didn't Asgul send?
Did I send my fish out there or no?
Do you keep?
Keep the
You can
tails,
send your
yeah.
fish to keep track of him, but you can't send it to assault him in the middle of a crowd. Otherwise, that is super bad.
Yeah.
I will relay that to my fish, and I'll yell
Okay,
out really
your
loud,
fish
"Don't
is like-
attack him!"
Your fish is like, keep a tail on that guy. Okay, so all right. As a ranger, you have perfect control over your pet anyway, so you're
It's a
fine.
fish tail, yeah.
The fish actually
Right,
is
so roll,
extremely intelligent.
Okay, roll stealth for your fish. Just use your stealth roll. We're not going to bother coming up with the fish's stealth roll.
I do have stats for the beasts, if you want
I
those.
know, but it's just easier if we use your stats. It's just like, use your stealth roll.
Okay, so my stats. Oh, that is bad. 10.
Okay.
Well, that's
So
a
the guy you're following pretty much notices the fish following him right away. Disappears around the corner. The fish goes around the corner and he's gone. As the fish is like confused with this animal intelligence, going, where'd it go?
Oh, don't we tell him about the security guy about the tags that were delegates replaced on the delegates?
Yeah.
You haven't told the security guy that yet. Do you want to?
Yes.
Yeah, I think you should.
All right. All right. Well, fought some insurgents in a previous civil action. I'm not going to give you the details, but it's like that was a common tactic, essentially, to tag potential targets or other security forces. So, if that's the case, I expect there to be high explosives involved in perhaps a suicide bomber in the crowd. So, check the first ranks. Basically, I want you to help me sweep basically the first ranks of anybody in the first row.
I'm gonna cast
first or second
locate
row of the
object.
audience.
I'm gonna ask him to describe these suicide bombers and then cast locate object on the explosive devices.
And I'm going to do the
No,
same.
it's like they usually use like old mining explosives, backpack or strapped to their persons. Unfortunately, you notice like all the seminary students wear robes, so you could hide anything under that.
This is why I cast locate object on mining explosives.
You cast locate object on mining explosives. You get a ping up in the third balcony, and then we're gonna go to the third balcony people as you relayed that to the third balcony people. The diplomats are maybe about 10 minutes from getting onto stage at this point. The sort of like MC is asking the dean of the school is asking everybody to quiet down at this point and welcome our honored guests. And
I tell the dean to
people are beginning to take
relay.
their seats.
I try to relate to the dean to stall for some time.
Okay.
While he
You
does that,
basically
I'm
talk
going to
the
like
security guy basically is like stall for some time so we can try to keep like a suicide bombing from happening here. Okay, so you get a ping up in the third tier. Essentially, you're going. That seems like a really odd place for that, but maybe they're just looking for collateral damage and not blowing up the delegates. So you get a ping on mining explosives, like literally in the third tier. You point it out to Mina and Well,
Crow.
never mind, Tirshon, you're there, essentially. Tirshon,
Yeah.
you basically get a ping maybe about 20 feet away from you, basically, in the audience.
Is it on a person? Like, is it
On a person,
noticeably?
yes.
I'm going to cast. Yeah, give me 2 seconds.
It's been more than 2 seconds.
I'm looking at calm emotions. Hang on.
I don't know. I'm kidding. Just burst your bubble.
He will be very calm as he blows himself up.
1 minute. I'm going to motion for one of the security people to like, or not motion, but like tell through our radio to like one of the people on the ground floor or backstage for security person to come up, like, but not approach him just yet. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to like get up and like walk essentially behind the person as if I'm like going back downstairs or something. And then while I'm behind, I'm going to cast calm emotions on him or her, whatever it is.
All right, you still can't tell the sex of these Sahojin apart. Essentially,
The individual.
So you cast it on the individual. So there's again one of these. He's one of these hulking Sahojin. So this guy is older, probably like an adult Sahojin. Since he seems to be like a head taller than the people sitting around him. He's wearing sort of rough-hewn brown robes, and underneath you're detecting mining explosives. So, his sort of bright yellow eyes basically continually scan around him. I need a stealth check for you, Tirshon. And Mina, what are you doing to back him up?
Is there any way, like, I have mending? Can I break explosives with mending? Can I make it? Can I deactivate it?
Well, let's see. You figure you could basically you might be able to disable the detonator essentially with your lightning gun, but it's like you probably would need to see it first. You don't want to just like randomly electrocute explosives because you might just set it off.
I got an 18 for stealth.
18 for stealth. All right, this larger fishman basically looks at you, glares, and sort of gets up and starts swimming directly away from you.
I can levitate him if that helps, but
Okay.
Away from me, but like, does he not? As he's walking away, like, I can still cast my spell at him, right?
Yes, you cast your spell at him.
Crow, do you want me to levitate him? I can force him up.
He does not seem to be indifferent about his surroundings after your spell goes off. He continues to swim away. You can see Luke. He doesn't like on the far side of the third level. Like at this point, he seems to have a jar of Kraken balls and a toothpick, and he's sort of like picking one after the other out of his snack.
Oh my god! I just had the great idea. I'm going to. Do I have communication with Luke?
Not really. You could just yell to him, though. That, or you could just try to wave in Kabuki theater your basically indication of what you want him to do.
I'm not going to risk this. I'm going to cast Sending.
Okay, you cast Sending over to Luke. Yes! Hey!
Big fish man, swimming away. Containment bubble now, please. I beg of you. This is crucial.
Okie dokie. Like, Luke poised his staff at the fishman as this bright blue bubble pops into existence around him. About that time, there's this like bright white flash. It is fully contained within the bubble, and then once the bright white flash goes away, you don't even hear an explosion. You just see the bright white flash. There's just like ashes like raining down inside the blue bubble. It's like, wow. Like,
nice work.
Like, there's a lot of startled, like, oh! Yes. As they see this, there's this bright flash of light, but there's no concussive blast or anything.
Yep.
Because it's fully contained within the force bubble. The everybody's looking around about this period of time. About that period of time, Hate and Asgul and Ronan, who are all by the stage at this point, notice there's a lot of guys, like, rather than looking at the explosion, are looking towards the stage instead, basically. At least a dozen of them.
I point this out to
Alert
security.
security.
Yeah.
Security, the captain basically goes and slaps basically the big red button essentially on his communications pad, basically to activate the security droids, and the security droids like were to action, except they basically their eyes glow red and they point their guns at you guys and the delegates. Right. The security captain's okay. That's bad. Essentially, as he starts dashing towards the delegates to get in between the security droids, and
I do the same.
Can I try to start hacking the droids with my pad?
Sure.
Gonna
Okay,
pull
you're
out the
disadvantaged to do
superior
this
one.
in the middle of combat, but let's run down from the top to bottom. Asgul, you're hacking.
Okay.
AK at Arcana check at disadvantage.
All right, disadvantage. Oh, that's a natural 20 and a natural 1.
Okay, so you're not quite able to basically slot the basically data spike into the robot before it basically gets fully activated. You're going, well, shit. Okay, Hate.
I'm gonna cast Divine or Shield of Faith and move to intercept the robots.
Well, we'll just say you already have Shield of Faith up. You've had a moment when the explosion happened to have a rate you cast that. So what else are you doing?
And I'm moving to intercept.
Okay, you're moving to shield the delegates who are in the center of the stage at the moment. All right.
Exactly.
All right, so you're going to intercept any shots that go towards them. Okay,
Yep.
and then Ronan.
I am going to use Misty Step, or can I use Misty Step underwater?
Sure.
I use Misty Step to intercept or to shield the delegates, and then I use bonus action to call out Poppy.
Okay, so use bonus action. Okay, so you're moving and teleporting and calling out Poppy you're getting down to the stage. Okay, so you're at the stage at this point.
I've been at the
behind
stage,
the basically ranks of roughly 12 or so assassins that have like popped out of the crowd and are all looking towards the stage. You're behind those guys at the moment, but you're out of actions at the moment. Okay, Tirshan, you are. We'll just say you're relatively satisfied that the bomber got stopped. So, what are you doing now?
Downstairs.
Okay. You sweep again, essentially, with your locate object because it's still up at this point. There's like, and you get another ping, basically closer to the stage.
I will.
Yell to him.
No, not yell. Is it just one ping on one person?
Just one ping. Yes.
What does this individual look like?
It's hard to tell at this distance. They just look like you see one fisherman, they're all sort of dressed alike in like light blue student robes.
Big fish man or small fish man?
They're all like adults, essentially, so they're not like young adults like the rest of the students, essentially.
Got it. In this case, I'm going to cast Banishment on him.
Okay. You swim down a little distance to get in range, and let's see here. Poof, he disappears out of existence. All right, your locate object is down as you are now concentrating on banishment.
Yep, I will inform security, calling over one of the security guys that I called over previously, and tell them, one's in the front row. I just dealt with the one with the bomb for 1 minute. Get ready to intercept him.
Okay. You sort of give a row and a chair as it's roughly a like second row up, essentially middle row.
I point out the missed seat that now is a missing person, and it's like that area, suspicious persons. I just got rid of the bomb for 1 minute. Please do
Great.
something about it.
And then Mina, what are you up to at this point?
These
So you got
are
a
these made of
dozen.
metal? These robot things that are now pointing guns at us?
Yes, they are.
Okay.
How many? Just two of them?
Yes, there's two black droids that basically have deployed out of being sort of like stationary looking, like black nondescript black boxes, and have unfolded out to be like the sort of like four-legged scorpion droids that essentially you see in Star Wars.
Oh.
Um, am I okay to use a lightning bolt down here, or is that going to electrocute everybody in the house?
No, you're fine.
Clarence,
Okay.
Like,
So
we're not going to say lightning bolt suddenly becomes a lightning ball underwater. So it's just
Okay.
like these spells still have their same shape.
So I want to hit one. If I can line up to hit both of them, I'll do it. But I'd like to pick
They're
one of
sort
them.
of like on opposite ends of the stage, and you're like standing in the balcony looking at the
That's
stage.
what I figured. So, and if I need to get in closer, I'll do that. So whichever one I hit
You're
is going to need to
starting
make
to
a
sw- you're
Dex
starting-
18.
Okay, you're starting to swim down,
Uh-huh.
and you get in range essentially for your lightning bolts. It fails miserably. Go ahead and give me full damage.
Okay. So that's 8d6.
200 HP.
So that's 32.
All right. It definitely doesn't seem to be necessarily like vulnerable to electricity, but it does definitely take for like the full damage as it basically jitters about, and you can see a light blue force field around it begin to basically convolute and fold in on itself as it's beginning to fail. Let's see here. Okay, so the decadroids go and like light up the diplomatic core. Let's see here. Blah, blah, blah. Okay. All right. So I guess we'll just do this as. Okay, so Hakes, I'm gonna have you do this as saves, I guess. What is your best save?
Charisma.
Okay, that would be super weird. Alva, are you good at con?
I'm reasonably good at con.
Okay, so make me 3 con saves, DC 18.
I'm a paladin. I save at everything.
Well, he's better at some things than others because he's proficient in them, I assume.
Mm-hmm.
So I made 2 of the 3.
Okay, I can give
Okay.
you
Yeah,
5
we'll do,
if you want to make all 3.
Okay.
Do you have to be in a certain range?
No, I don't think so. I think I just need to be able to see them.
Okay, well, that's good then. All right, so you spend one of your handy ads, and as Hate basically pops up, basically uses his personal force field, shield of faith, and the sort of wall shield he carries around, basically, and tanks up in front of the delegates as bullets are flying everywhere. Let's see here, and I guess there's only one hit in there, so you take 10 points of damage, Hate, from a stray shot that manages to get through all the armor, but you definitely stop the delegates from getting shot.
Right.
As you have them duck down underneath your bulk, and you just basically arching yourself over them. Okay, oh yeah, and I need to have the regular goons in audience do stuff. Okay, regular goons in audience.
Do they notice that their guy just disappeared, just like poofed out of existence?
They seem to be too focused directly on their target in front of them at this point. Okay. Blip, 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 blip. Okay, so who else is like Asgul is on the stage?
I'm on the stage. I was on the stage. I thought.
Yeah, you've moved up to the stage at this point. Okay, so okay, Ronan, you arrive just in time to take a blaster bolt to the face as you take 16 points of damage. That's like,
Oh, well, you.
as you begin to see water begin to leak in through your helmet, you're going, "That's bad. That's bad."
I use a quick patch.
You stick a patch over. All right, so that uses your bonus action to patch your helmet. And then let's see here. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so I have 6 attacks that actually hit. You see a reasonable number of security guards like take blaster bolts to the chest and go down. And then the exchange back the other way of various blaster shots going back the other way. You see like four of the assailants in the crowd basically get obliterated as they basically do the dance of death and then like begin to float away as like they leak purplish blood. You see two of the fishermen at this point like empty out this sort of blackish concoction into their mouth and just like gargle it down, and they suddenly begin to balloon up like the Hulk and become huge. As they're now, in moments, essentially go from basically being scrawny, like fish dudes, to ogre-sized monsters with claws the length of basically short swords.
Lawrence, you're sounding a little underwhelmed
their...
there. Is something different about your mic?
I'm glad it wasn't just me. Yeah, Lawrence, you sounded like you were from a Nintendo 64 for a minute there.
It sounded very on brand for the theme, but yeah.
Okay. All right, so there's roughly about 8 fishermen left, 2 of which have turned into like fish ogres. All right.
7.
Okay. And then, let's see here. And then Aunt Luke from the Peanut Gallery, sends his sphere of force down to basically intercept the fishermen and warp them up basically into a bubble. He can't quite fit the ogres into his current bubble, but he does pick up one of the regular fishermen and bubbles them up.
Oh, cool.
Okay, so let's see here. And then... Okay, we had the bad guys go. Asgore.
Thinking real quick, would it be advisory for me to try and hack turrets again, or should I try and save the delegates and get them running?
Well, one of the robots does its force field is down, so you could reasonably, if you jump up behind it and stab your data pad into your data spike into his data port, you might be able to hack it at this point. The other one has a force field on, so it's like impossible to hack it right now.
I say hack.
Yeah, maybe you can get him to shoot his friend.
Okay, I will go try and run down and try and hack it again.
You zoom up to the ceiling, then zoom back down to the floor, right on top of this thing. Give me an acrobatics check. As you use your 3D maneuvering gear.
12.
Okay, you managed to get on target. It's not the most graceful thing in the world, but okay, so I need athletics or acrobatics, whichever is better for you, as you grapple it and try to get your data spike in its basically data port.
Okay, acrobatics is how many people do I have allies within 30 feet of me? Do I have 3?
Yes.
2? So I'm using saving face. That'll make it 14.
Okay. All right. Let me roll for the robot here. 1 second. All right. The robot rolls a 1, so you get your data spike right on in there. You are at advantage to basically make your hacking attempt. So roll Arcana.
Advantage. Oh, that's 11 and 8, 19.
19. All right, the robot begins to... are you going to try to shut it down, or are you going to try to take it over?
Take it over.
Shut it down.
Okay, shut it down. There's no roll required. You are able to shut it down, no problem. If you try to take it over, it gets a save. All right, so... All right, it goes through the shutdown procedure, begins to fold up back into a box.
Right, do I have a bonus action? I'm trying to.
That's all of your
see.
actions. Put it that way. You were made like 3
Okay.
skill rolls, so normally each one of those requires an action. So,
Thank
all
you.
right.
Then that'll be the end of my turn.
Okay, you've taken out one of the robots. Hate.
I'm going to continue protecting the diplomats by being a living shield.
Okay, do you want to start shuffling them to the backstage then?
Yes, so working them out of the
Okay,
danger
so
zone.
you basically, well, it's like you are a big dude in comparison to all of them. You could basically just bear hug them all up basically and start running them to the back. Do you want to do that?
If I can get all of them, sure.
Yeah, so there's a total of only like 3 delegates up on the stage at this point. So there's
Alright.
yours and then 2 Sahojin. So you could do the quick bear hug basically, and it's like everybody together. We're moving this way.
Get
Okay,
them
make
to
that
the,
athletic check to basically
limo.
run them to the back of the stage.
I'm gonna use a luck on that.
Okay, that would be a good plan.
I think
That's
Natural
dirty
20.
20.
30-20, no
nice.
problem. Okay, the site security captain is like giving you cover fire behind you as he's sort of directly behind you, behind your back, basically using 2 plaster pistols. Tear shot.
Continuing concentration on Banish for the most part. I know he'll eventually come back because this is his native plane, I would assume. But what do you call it? What was I going to say? Oh, can I make like a nature check, I guess, to see if I can tell the thing that the Sahojin drank, would a dispel magic work on that, or is it a biological substance in nature?
You don't think a dispel magic's gonna work on that?
Okay. 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 How many casualties would I have if I cast Shatter into the pile of let's just call them heretics for now because I can't think of a better
You
word.
would kill a lot of civilians if you AoE'd them
Yeah,
at this point.
Yeah, no,
There's all sorts
thank
of like there's all sorts of students like cowering in behind their seats at this point.
Oh, I think I know it. Above the table, asking a general consensus question. Do you think Fog Cloud would be a good or a bad idea here? Actually, no, I can't even do that because Fog Cloud is a concentration spell. Never mind.
Okay.
Fucking, I don't know. I guess I'm just gonna move closer towards Onluk and the stage
Okay.
and hold my action. I guess.
Okay. Rodin.
I am going to
The other active combat droid at this point, and the 2 fish ogres are leaping onto the stage, swimming up to the stage at really high speed at this point.
I'm going to use Thunder Wave and try to hit the ogres.
Okay, and then give me a bonus action for
Poppy.
Poppy, yeah. Okay, so let's see here. Thunderwave, 1d, 2d20. All right, so both fish ogres get staggered in the water as there's a thunderous blast that knocks them back off the stage.
Stay back, I say.
Bam! All right, so you've staggered them for a round to keep them back. All right, great. See here, and did them a little bit of damage. Let's see here. All right, Mina.
Okay.
And Poppy too. I didn't do Poppy.
And Poppy, yes.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Roll a d20 for Poppy to shoot somebody.
21 to hit.
Okay, that hits. All right, so how much damage does Poppy do? I think it's 3d6 or something.
2d8.
2d8. Okay, got it.
Close enough.
9 damage.
Okay, blam. One of the ogres who's sort of reeling in the water gets blasted in the chest. He He's still very much alive, unfortunately. Mina.
Okay, I'm gonna whack that other droid with a lightning bolt, so he needs to make a Dex 18.
All right.
And then we could,
Fails, takes full damage.
Okay,
Give me 86.
and
that
then
is
Asgore, if you hit
32
it,
again.
32 again. Okay, so again, this guy's sort of force field seems to be convoluting and collapsing at this point. So, okay, so Decadroid. Let's see here. Okay, the Decadroid basically lights up Mina on her way in, essentially. So you take a total of 30 points of damage as multiple blaster shots like riddle you.
And so that was like what kind of damage? Force damage?
Force damage, yeah.
Okay, I was trying to think if I had anything that would help with that.
Force damage is really hard to negate.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, I don't think.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. One of my characters has shield, but I don't think this is the one.
Fair enough. Got
Okay,
it.
I'll take
Okay.
30.
All right. The let's see. The two ogres. Let's see here. The two fish trolls. Let's see here. One of them manages to clip Ronan for 15 points of damage with a extended claw, but all their other attempts to grab at Ronan basically fail. So, and then let's see here. And then the fishermen in the crowd. One of them gets off a blaster shot against Asgol for 10 points of damage. Okay, and then that's it for Team Bad Guys. All right, Asgol.
So on D&D Beyond, I have a racial trait, Fey Gift. Is that something you allow?
Sure. I don't recall what it does, but
Okay, so using my 3D maneuvering gear, I'm gonna try and use my movement to get to the tank guy. Hate.
okay.
Use a Fey Gift. Me and Hate get a bonus 10 feet of movement to our speed.
Okay, great.
And
So you
then
make
my
the move faster. Great.
why not
action, I'm
go
gonna try
against
and
the
deploy the
other?
Marine shield that we got from the
Oh, so
corrupted
you
Marines.
deploy the basically assault shield. All right, so that's a good plan. All right. You put down some more force wall.
And I believe
Alright.
that is all my action.
All right. Hey,
Well done.
you've gotten everybody to roughly to the back door of the backstage at this point. You're sort of rolling up the security door. You can see a white sleek security limo here. If you go, effectively, it's just going to be you that can fit in there with the delegates. Otherwise, two normal-sized people can they're fit in your spot. So, which one do you want to do?
I'll send the captain instead.
Okay, you said the captain and a lieutenant in there, and they begin to rev up the vehicle and get it ready to go. They'll be gone next round.
Okay.
All right. Let's see here, Tirshan.
Still focusing on banishment, and you've turned this against me, Lawrence. All my stuff is AOE. AOE doesn't work when you have hostages.
I'm sure he didn't think of that at all, Crow.
I'm not mad. I'm just what do you call it? Over exaggerating.
Just give him the props.
Oh wait, the two the two ogres have stepped up away from.
They're up on the stage with Ronan at this point.
Okay.
Back
I
up.
thought I knocked him off the stage with the thunder wave.
They're sort of like floating in the mid water because you're in
Oh.
water. Essentially, it's not like they could fall back to the ground.
I have 30 feet of swim movement. Can I, or no, 50? Well, I have a 50-foot flying speed. How do you translate that to a swimming speed?
You move half that distance underwater. So technically,
So-
you're regular. It's all swimming is difficult terrain. So it's like you would move 25 using your flight or 15 using your normal swimming.
Yeah, I'll take 25. Can I make it up to them? Can I get within 30 feet of both sea trolls with my movement?
Like not in melee range, but certainly within spell range. Let's put it that way.
I need to be within at least 30 feet of them. And I'm going to cast Destructive Wave. And best part about this spell that I just read about, I can choose which creatures get hit.
Ah.
Okay, well that's not bad. All right, so sure, we'll say you get close enough. All
30
right,
foot range from self. 17 DC con save.
Okay, I rolled horribly. Neither of them want to make their save.
Would either of them, are these entities particularly weak to Thunder, Radiant, or Necrotic by any chance?
Nope, not particularly.
Well then just
they're
10 DC.
basically Sacco hit points, so that's pretty much their defense.
Oh, and I believe, hang on, 30 feet of you, Constitution saving throws, and be knocked prone. So I don't know exactly how that works underwater, but they're knocked prone.
From a practical standpoint, they're going to have their action here in a moment to be not prone, so that's not super useful, but there you go. Okay, so... all right, so they have some damage on them at this point. So they're beginning to leak fluids, so they're not... they are probably a little beyond like a third of their hit points down. Let's see here. Ronan.
I'm going to concentrate on that metal thing. Actually, which one
Okay,
seems to be
the other Decadroid. Okay, go ahead and roll to hit that guy. Do you want to action surge against this guy?
Which one seems to be more of a threat to me right now?
The two ogre. Well, let's put it this: the Decadroid or the two ogres are probably the same amount of damage, but it's going to be harder to take down the ogres. So you might as well just take down the robot.
Yeah, I'll do that. I Misty step next to it and start slashing away.
Oh wait, could I droid in that blast as well?
Say again?
Could I have gotten the Decadroid in my Destructive Wave blast as well?
No, because it's like way up on the stage.
I got you. All right.
Okay, so all right, so you charge forward at the Decadroid, and do you want to throw in action surge here to just make sure it's dead?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, so roll 5d20, so 4 of your attacks, 1 from your pet.
So 29, 28, 18, 25, that's 4, and then 21 for the pet.
Okay, so it has a 20 AC, so you hit 4 times. So what is it? That's, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4.
2, 4,
okay, so that's 5d8, I believe.
68. Because it's 2d8 for the sword. Oh, no, sorry. You're right. 2d8 for your...
2d8 for Poppy, and then like 1d8 for each sword strike.
5d8, yeah, you're right.
Okay, so 5d8 plus your strength bonus, what is it? 3 times.
$39.
39. Okay, you hack the droid's central processing unit apart and drive your sword in there and cause some sparks as the thing basically collapses on its side. You're going and yank your sword free. All right, Mina.
Okay. Are the two ogres within 20 feet of each other?
Yeah, sure they are.
Okay, I'd like to cast Fairy Fire on them, so they need to make a Dex 18.
They both make it.
Okay. Doggone it. Hate when they does that. Okay, I'm just thinking if I have anything useful as a bonus action.
Can Adam Savage do anything?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I could send Adam Savage up to look around and see if he sees anybody else besides the I think we've got what, 5 of the goons left and the 2 ogres.
Yep.
So yeah, I'll send Adam Savage up to look and see if there's any other threats that we can identify.
Okay, let's see. Hate's over by the loading dock at this point. He's looking outside. Your car, your armored limo is basically warming up and basically about to take off, but you can see basically the space lorry barreling down like at a 45-degree angle straight towards the limo at this point.
I'm gonna pull out my Gatling laser and start spinning it up.
Okay, got it. All right, so let people in the crowd. Let's see here.
I have 2 shots left.
All right, got it. Okay, let's see here. All right, so Tirshan, you get lit up by the guys in the crowd for a total of 24 points of damage from various force-based blaster shots. And
How many of these are individual shots?
there's 3 individual shots.
How much damage apiece?
So let's see here. We're gonna say like 8 a piece, I guess.
I automatically pass all of those for concentration.
Okay, great.
Very good. We don't want Bomb Boy back yet.
So, Suicide Bomber is not coming back, which is always good. Let's see here. All right, so you take a total for 24 points of damage as you get lit up.
My brain is more Swiss cheese than normal.
You'll be fine.
Oh,
all right, the fish trolls, 2 of them manages to meet in the middle, basically, as one stabs you in the front and one stabs you in the back with their sword-like claws for a total of 26 points of damage to Ronin.
Me? To Ronin. I was about to say.
Ronin, yes.
Yes.
Okay, and let's see here.
They're passing 23 AC.
Yes, they get past 23 AC.
Damn.
They have plus 11 to hit. They're fairly accurate.
And I'm sure that's an
let's see here.
accident and he didn't plan that at all.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Let's see here. And okay, so the fish ogres did their thing. Guys in the crowd did their thing. Droids are down. Explosives guy is not anywhere to be seen. Okay, I think we're back to the top of the. Okay, we're back to the top of the order. Asgol.
Is one of the ogres engaged in melee with
Yes,
ally
they're
of mine?
engaged with Ronin at the moment.
Okay, I will target the one engaged with Ronin. Bonus action, Hunter's Mark. And I'll fire 2 shots at him.
All right. Hit twice.
Just don't hit me, please.
Okay, so they have a 15 AC.
Okay, I got 1 hit at 17.
Okay,
Yeah,
great.
17.
And then go ahead and give me damage plus sneak attack plus Hunter's Mark.
Okay, so 5 and 8 is 13, and then 2, 13, 15 damage.
All right, the rat ogre seems to be very unhappy at this point, but still very much alive. Hate.
And I'm going to stay behind my shield.
Going to light up
You try to. All right, give me.
diving rat.
In this case, we'll just. have you roll to hit twice and see if you can put it on target in the cockpit area. And
Never had
That's
to
quite
actually
horrible.
roll the hit.
are we using luck? Yep.
Yeah, we'll use our last luck.
Do we?
Okay,
I still
that
have an
didn't work.
inspiration. Do you still have one?
No, I've used all my inspiration.
Okay.
Okay, well, people can spend inspiration on other people, as far as I know. So, do you want to do that,
Yes, I'd like to give him.
Mina?
Yes, I'd like to give him an inspiration.
All right.
So another 9. So 2 9s.
2 9s. Okay, so it's a panel
Take my
truck. So there's
power.
no
I have
missing the
one
panel
more.
truck, but you are definitely.
I have one more inspiration. You can have it.
All right. Well, we'll see what happens. No, it is just not meant to be.
It is not meant to be. Okay.
Oh,
So, all right. So the truck is holding together. Unfortunately, at this point, you riddled the whole front grille with laser blasts, but it comes crashing down into the limousine as there's a sort of like horrendous crash, and you see glass and twisted metal going flying everywhere. So, as the whole thing kind of starts.
Can I Misty Step as a bonus action and intercept the vehicle and take part of that?
Sure.
That's
Sure.
what I'll do.
All right.
So I will interject myself and be a crash test dummy.
All right. So, all right. You get in that. You get in the middle basically, and like go ahead and roll athletics for as you activate your boosters to basically try to offset some of the velocity of the lorry. Okay, very good. The boosters. You're hanging on to this thing for dear life, and it's like you. Okay, so you take a total of 54 points of damage as you
Right.
get the lorry at least like slightly off of completely square on, and it hits at an angle, and then you and the truck and the limousine all sort of careen in different directions at this point.
That's fair.
Okay, so it doesn't look as bad as what I described earlier, where the passenger's cabin is like all crushed to hell. At this point, it looks like someone
Yeah.
could survive that at this point.
Hopefully.
Okay, all right, Tirshan.
I will be moving towards Otluk and describing to him what has been happening, and that I have banished another bomb, and that it will be coming back soon, and I would like him to prepare another force bubble, please.
All right, absolutely. I will bubble this individual up as soon as he appears, just like right
Thank
over
you
there.
very much. Yep, right over there in that seat should be right where he's coming back. And then I will.
Okay.
I guess, start spinning my fingers at more people, trying to shock them.
Okay, well hit.
Those definitely hit.
Okay, so the guys in the crowd are AC 13.
Oh yeah, definitely hits. 14 damage to one of them. And if they're vulnerable
Okay,
to thunder or
you-
lightning
You
damage.
got one guy really good. He's on his knees and he's like smoking from his fins, but he is still alive.
Well, that's all I got.
I.e., maybe one more hit. Okay, Ronan.
I'm gonna go after the guy who's smoking.
Well, you have to. Well, I guess you can teleport over there. Basically, are you going to spend a first level slot to do that?
Yes.
Okay, you spend a teleport next to that guy. Roll to hit.
Dirty 20.
Okay, you stab that guy through the gut, and he falls over dead. You go over and stab the guy next to him, and go and roll to hit to that guy as well.
14.
Okay. All right, you get that guy as well. Go ahead and roll me damage. So it's a D8 plus, what is it?
6.
Probably 6.
12.
All right, you stab that guy in the gut. He's like folded over, but he's still alive. And then give me either give me a 2-hit from Poppy or a 2-hit from yourself, effectively for a cantrip, because you can do that as a Eldritch Knight.
That's right. Do myself.
Okay.
18.
Okay, you hit. So roll 2d10 essentially for a firebolt. We'll assume you do the highest damage cantrip you have.
Yeah.
And is it 11th level, or is it when you get to go to 3 dice on a
11.
cantrip?
It's 11.
It's 11.
Yeah, it's 11th. Okay. Yeah.
10. 2d10. Oh, you gotta be kidding me. That's a 4.
Unfortunately, the guy is still alive. So it's like barely as you blast the hair off the side of his head, but he is still alive. Mina.
Okay, I'm gonna use my lightning thing twice on whichever ogre looks like the best target. That's a 23 to hit on the first one, and
Okay, there are 15 ACs.
18
so
on the next one. Okay, so
all right, you hit twice. So
trying to get down here. Damn it. Okay, there we go. Okay, so that's 12 plus uno momento. So get an extra 1d6. 12 plus 2. Okay, so that's 14 damage on that one.
okay. All right, so the ogres look a little past halfway done at this point.
Okay.
The turkey timer pops up. All right, the ogres. Okay, so Ronan, let's see, one of them crits you for 22 points of damage as he slams the claw straight into your spleen. You're going, he did that. Water is beginning to leak in all over your armor. You are beginning to worry about it at this point.
I hit myself with one of those emergency, whatever it's called.
Okay.
The injector thing, right?
Okay, let's see here. And then well, I'm talking about your super deep and high pressure area, essentially. Your sealing on your armor is failing at this point, so if you don't take care of it probably before this combat is over, the pressure will get to you and you're going to have to start making con saves.
I'll be right back.
I am going to try to mend my armor.
Okay, it's beyond the point where patching is going to help at this point. You're going to either have to take the adaptation, take a action to take the adaptation drug, or do something.
Yeah, I'm going to take the adaptation drug.
What about the mending spell?
Right,
yeah, the mending spell. I have a mending
well, mending spell might help. So it depends on if someone can get over there and do it. So Mina, you take 10 points of damage from blaster shot from the audience, and let's see here.
Actually, I have mending as a cantrip.
Yeah. It is a cantrip. That's correct.
Yeah, I have it.
All right, so that might not be a bad plan to try to mend up your armor at this point. Okay, so out of the lorry, 3 guys pop out the back and start trying to kill hate and not do a good job of it. Okay, so these guys blaster rifles, like all the blaster bolts are like bouncing off of Hate's armor, even though they're pretty much shooting at him at point blank range at the moment. Let's see here, and then okay, top of the round, Asgol.
I'm gonna attack the one that is engaged with Ronan, And I'm going to have my fishy attack him too. Bonus action cast
All right.
Hunter's Mark first.
All right. Okay.
Dang it. I meant to get the box.
Okay, I'm back.
Okay.
All right, let's see. 22 and 16. And 22.
Okay, you hit all 3 times, so give me, what is it? Are you using the plasma pistol at this point?
The Marine pistol, the D12, correct?
The D12 plasma pistol. Okay, so you've got the advanced plasma pistol. All right, so 2D12, 1D8 for your fish. And then add your,
So
just add your
2,
dex bonus to all of them, I guess, just to make this convenient.
6, 11, 12, 21, 22, 23. 5 is 28. 30 damage for the 3 attacks.
All right. You put your plasma pistol to the back of one of the rat ogres and start pulling the trigger, and keep on pulling the trigger until you see light come through it. You can see a hole go through to the other side, and it falls over dead. Okay, Hate.
I'm going to pick myself
You
up.
lever yourself up out of the rubble, essentially, and push the lorry truck off yourself. What are you doing now?
I'm going to attack 2 of the guys that are trying to shoot me.
Okay, very good.
One shot and then 1 shot.
Okay, got it.
With the chainsword. So
Got
26.
it. All right.
I'm also
All right, that
going to
hits.
smite with this. Level
All right.
2. So 14 plus... They're not demons or anything, I assume.
No, they're like normal people, effectively.
14 plus 15, 29 points for the first guy.
Okay, you eviscerate one guy as like fish guts go flying everywhere.
Welcome to the chum bucket.
Does a 12 hit?
No.
And I miss the second guy.
Okay. All right. Is it maybe the cloud of the first guy basically blocked your vision to the second guy?
Yeah.
All right, Tirjan.
How many dudes are left still standing inside the room? I'm essentially on the stage, just going like, snap my fingers at anything
There's 3.
still standing. Thing still standing.
There's 2. There's 1 rat. There's 1 fish ogre, and 3 terrorists.
I'll keep shooting the terrorists. Or electrocuting, I guess.
Okay.
15
All right,
lightning thunder damage.
All right. Well, they have 13 ACs, so just give me damage.
Hit both attacks. 15 damage.
All right. So one of them that was damaged before basically collapses in a
Like Eldritch Blast, so they're individual attacks.
Okay, so all right, so one of them collapses in a sort of stuttering heap as it's like, and then Ronan.
Bonus. I think I use bonus. The catch as a bonus. Mending.
Mending takes your full action to cast. So, okay, roll me I guess roll me a D8, and let's see how many holes in your armor you seal up.
Come on, 8. 6.
Nice.
That's not bad.
All right, so you've stopped the leakages as far as you can tell at this point. Just like the pressure in your suit levels out, so you're going, okay, that's good. as you sort of dance away from the ogre and take a defensive stance.
And then Poppy is going to.
You can have Poppy attack at this point if you want to have an attack in there.
Yes. Natural 20.
Nice.
Okay, great. So roll 4d8.
So 22.
Okay, so the other rat ogre seems to be barely hanging in there with a handful of hit points left. As you've gutted it and you've like hacked off one of its hands, and it's just like still
shot him
sort
a
of
couple of
twitching at you.
harpoons.
Okay, Mina.
Okay, I'm gonna try and zap the ogre with my lightning launcher again. So that's a 21 to hit on the first
Okay.
one. That's a nat
He
one
already
on the
hit
second
once.
one, so that wasn't very good. Ba-dum-bum. Okay. It's 8. Okay, so that's 12 points on that. And Adam Savage, oops, sorry, that was damage first. Adam Savage rolls a 12. So okay, so just 8 damage.
Okay, so the rat ogre, I'm sorry, not the rat ogre, but the fish ogre, like fries, and you can see one of its eyes pop out of its head, and then it falls to the ground. Okay, and let's see here, the bad guys. About this period of time, the rest of site security shows up and wipes the rest of these guys out. Essentially, there's congratulations to be had all the way around as the site security captain. It's like, wouldn't have been able to do it without your help. So I definitely don't know what we would do about these the suicide bombers if you guys weren't here.
That was a little too close for comfort, but I'm glad. How many were there? Any casualties in the crowd? I immediately start looking for any injured civilians.
You're looking for casualties in the crowd. These guys were probably relying on the explosives to cause a lot mass casualties to the crowd, but you managed to take care of both of them.
So, yeah. So eventually, like some, I guess, like 45. My
How are the
banishment
delegates?
ends, and then the delegates got rammed by a pickup truck, I assume. But
The delegates,
due to hate,
it turns out that the armored limo lives up to its the fact it's armored, and the fact that the lorry did not get to hit them at like completely straight on really helped out a lot. So like the back, people are bruised and like banged up in the limo, but no one's dead.
And I think
I did cast Death Ward on Linda like 1 or 2 episodes ago.
Yeah.
good.
That's correct.
And I think we want to tell the security captain that we appreciate him too because we worked
Yes,
well
him being
together,
open.
and they made such a difference. We have a lot of respect for
Yeah.
their capability now.
Right, he sort of makes that sort of like touch the forehead, like sign of respect, and it's like, may the abyss eat your woes. As he goes, it's like, all right, you all look sort of injured, so I'd suggest you retire over to the infirmary at this point. Some nurses and medical staff will be able to take care of you there. So.
Yeah,
Okay, so
great
everybody was
time.
effectively healed for 24 hit points at this point
Okay, that helps a
from
lot.
general first aid. As they bandage you up, so stitch anything that needs to be stitched, weld anything that needs to be welded, I guess. At least Mina's basically doing the welding.
Yeah.
I'll heal myself for another 40 points.
Okay, got it.
That's got to feel a lot better.
Okay, so there's about this period of time, essentially, there's a haggard-looking security officer comes running into the infirmary. Essentially, it's like Overland Security, we're going to need your assistance again. Essentially, the High Elder is being under attack by rebels, by some more terrorists, essentially on the rift fields, essentially next to the rift kraken. Looks like if the elder goes down, the rift kraken will basically go out of control, and terrible things will happen. We need your assistance immediately.
That definitely sounds possible, but can the elder not just command the rift kraken to deal with the rebels?
can. He may or may not be able to. There's been a call. There's been a call for help at this point. So we're sending our forces
Good.
now, and we would ask that you do the same.
Understood. Regardless, we will go and help. We were meaning to seek out the Elder anyway.
Okay, so and that's where we'll pick it up next week as essentially part 2 of the basically fish terrorist plan. Basically, is in action to assassinate the
Only in D&D. Fish
so-
terrorism.
And this has
Fish
just
terrorism.
been such an incredible episode of really rich descriptions and like all of the stuff at the university and what the fish look like. And
Yep.
thank you. It's been
It ma-
really a masterclass.
This has been very fun. Stupid pun tree. We're at a school.
Yeah.
That I keep reminding myself that we're underwater, and that just adds like a whole other level of like flavor.
Yeah.
So much fun.
Yeah, Lawrence, this has been
Okay,
pretty
so
good.
how many sessions have we played so far?
I want to say
between
2 or
things?
3.
Okay, we'll definitely do level up after next session to be sure. Then.
Yeah, that sounds like a good time to level up as any after like I assume we're gonna like put a cap on this underwater plot for the time being then. So seems like everything's lining up for that.
Almost like you're wanting to get back to your sword, dude, but I think you've got some ore to find first, so don't be getting all restless.
Well,
No,
but
not
this
even
is one of
sword.
those
I
things
mean
you get-
like
you-
just nicely for us to be level 11 by the end of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sword or no sword, I did whatever works. I'm just going along with what Lawrence has.
It's fun. It's fun.
All right.
I had fun. Thank you, guys.
This was a great
All
something different from moving and taxes. So thank you, gentlemen. I enjoyed myself thoroughly.
Good game.
Good game. Good night, all.
Okay.
GG!